My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Left 4 Dead 2, which is a first-person shooter developed and published by Valve for the PC and Xbox 360 in 2009.
Yeah, and we're going to do about 45 minutes of light shtick about confusing it being Left 4 Dead TOO.
As well.
So you're going to do Left 4 Dead 2? What else are we going to do, Cole? Who has the unlikely name of Left 4 Dead 2?
Please give me my money.
Yeah. So because of the generosity of Valve, we're going to be talking about Left 4 Dead 1 content as well. This is one of those sequels that entirely obviated the original and then grew to contain it like a virus or a blob that took it over.
Yeah, just a concentric circle that grew around the original one.
Like a sourdough starter.
Like that was a weird time for games and developers to be doing stuff like that. I mean, like that's right around the same time that Rock Band came out and did basically the same thing. Pay a little bit extra, and boom, most of the songs from the first Rock Band are in Rock Band 2. No problem.
I can't understate how much, or I can't overstate how much goodwill that bought for me.
Oh my gosh.
Like as an idea. It's just like, that's fucking incredible. Video game makers are really good people. Little did I know.
This episode was executive produced by Jade. Thank you, Jade.
Thank you, Jade.
Yeah. And there's going to be a little bit of Team Fortress 2 caveat on this. This is, I think, kind of a bit more of a self-contained thing that is easy to get. However, this is made by Valve, so it has a lot of people who have been very dedicated to tracking all of the minutia and changes over time. Additionally, there is like weird corner case permutations of mechanics interacting with each other and like lore tidbits. We're not going to cover everything on this, and almost by necessity, there is going to be some kind of omission. If you feel that you're the kind of person who will be annoyed by that, understand that this is going to be to some degree a kind of a survey course.
Yeah, like chief among like those things, I think the thing that will most lead to it is for somebody who has put a lot of time into this game, I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at multiplayer shooters. Like this is one of the ones I like. Yeah. But I'm not good at it. I have watched a lot of high level play. I have participated in zero amounts of high level play. I occasionally get a good, infected team. Yeah. Strike. Or pull off a really good move, but I'm not good at it.
Yeah. What I don't want is for somebody to hear me say like, "Oh, I like the M16," and then get like so angry that they pop a blood vessel and drive into a bridge embankment. Like, how dare you? That's disqualifying that you like the automatic fire weapons. Man.
Yeah, the M16. Calling back with the M17. Did you know that the M in M16 stands for assault rifle?
Yep. Yeah.
So you just add some clips into the magazines, and then they go.
It fires the clips.
Yeah, you shoot off the clips, clip chips.
Yeah.
So this is the high level concept of this is a cooperative multiplayer shooter, a 4v4. You play as 4 survivors trying to make your way through undead hordes and escape all together. And this is a game I've had tons of affection for. I love the ways that this makes teamwork necessary. I think that this is really kind of remarkable in that respect. We're getting to those like individual bits of how it enforces that design, that high level design goal from low level design elements.
This game is a marvel of design. I think the way that they have made seemingly inconsequential decisions that all kind of like lead to kind of necessitating a certain mindset on the part of the players. Without a lot of direct communication from the game to the player. I think that is incredibly laudable, what they've managed to accomplish here.
Well, especially when it came out, right? Like this, the multiplayer landscape, as somebody who kind of understands it a little bit from the periphery, from having like Overwatch friends and just knowing games, is that kind of like teamsmanship and depending on each other is something that is now kind of in style.
Yes.
In video games. Like that is part of the remit of Overwatch. At the time, this came out in a really, Counter-Strike kind of landscape.
Yeah. Counter-Strike where you are playing on sides, but there is very much like a reliance on individual performance. There are certain team tactics and there are like general best practices, but like that as a game where you try to distinguish yourself as a superstar, right?
Yeah. And to a lesser extent, Team Fortress 2 also is that. Like you are on a team and really good Team Fortress 2 players do coordinate. You kind of don't have to though.
Yeah.
Like you can be playing your own game of Team Fortress 2 and still help your team while doing your own thing. The thing I think that's remarkable about Left 4 Dead is that it's enforced co-op through design. Yeah. And that it was way rarer 10 years ago than it is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing too, the sicko, if you want to drive into an embankment, because I'm going to say something, I've put in, between these two games, I put in something like 225 hours. I play this game a lot, either co-op versus the computer, or I played it by myself as kind of an arcade game. This is a premier example when we did our live thing about playing games wrong.
Same
fun
here.
Arcade shooter.
It's a pretty good time. I find multiplayer pretty stressful. Like it's been fun playing, off and on with handfuls of people in the community here. Like when we set up the server, but like, I don't know. I don't want to hop in with some randos who are going to yell at me. So like I'm willing to take the dumber AI on the teammates. It's still pretty good AI actually in the grand scheme of things. It's functional at the very least. I'm willing to accept that in lieu of playing with puppies.
Yeah, you put this on hard mode, you put this on a slightly harder difficulty and play it single player, and it's an entirely different kind of game. Yeah. That still works as a video game, like an arcade. Like it's really neat. It's very versatile as well. This game.
Yeah.
Oh, tons of admiration.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about kind of the general campaign loop, and some of the avatar abilities that you have, before we get into the ways that, co-op is enforced here. I love the way that this game is kind of divided and presented. It is made up of individual campaigns that are themselves kind of styled after movies. Like they have really cool, movie poster, key art, with taglines and everything, each of which shows one leg of each group of the survivors' journey. And each of these campaigns is made up of individual levels.
Yes. That begin and end in safe rooms. These are what they sound like. You get ammo, supplies, and a kickin' little theme song that's very relieving to hear, until you get to the last one, which is escape either to the next campaign, because a lot of times they connect, or they always connect, or to the end of the game.
Yes.
And then your fate is in comics and other media. So there are, in between these missions, there's not a whole lot of mechanical variation. But they're combined in a different number of different ways, and sometimes semi-randomly as well through the director, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But you'll have like a boss fight or a climax event or both, or some combination of such. They have limited tools and they kind of remix them for each level.
Yeah. And all of the interest kind of comes from the kind of emergent stories that arrive from the collisions between these relatively small number of parts.
Yes.
It is interesting the way that this game deals with authored content versus procedural content as it goes. One of the ways that the mechanics are pretty limited is the fact that though you are picking different characters, and we'll talk about the individual survivors when we get to the campaigns, they really only differ cosmetically. They don't have different stats or abilities. They've got different voices and different appearances. Like, these are set characters. When you finish the game, it shows the credits. It shows, your Steam tag as Zoe or as Bill, etc. But you're just kind of inhabiting this little avatar. They all play the same.
Yeah. Which would have to be for this kind of balance.
Yes.
The specific kind of balance it's doing. Each of these characters has a sidearm. So you can either have a single pistol, you can also pick up a magnum, or you can dual wield. These have unlimited ammo. This is kind of your saving ammo thing.
Yeah.
And you can also replace your sidearm with a melee weapon. Yeah. They're all over, and they kill common undead in one hit. They do tons of damage.
Yeah.
Is their thing, but they are melee range only.
I really wish that the melee weapons were a little bit more fluid. I missed having combos in those. It just it gave me some Dead Island vibes when I went back to it. I was like, oh, okay, huh.
What's interesting about the melee weapons is that there's a lot of variation between them that are subtleties that I am not trained to see. They have fairly different hitboxes and swing speeds and such, and things that professional Left 4 Dead players know which ones to look for.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, duh, guitar. It makes a big clang fun sound, or the pot, or the pan rather, the cast iron pan.
Yeah.
Makes a fun noise. Like, I turn into a total idiot about this. But there is a tons of different. So the different ones will feel better than other ones. In this, there's care put into that, but it's care that I do not internalize when I play.
Yeah. I pretty much only picked one up for novelty's sake. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I use them all the time. Like, I think they're really handy because you have to push through crowds a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Useful for going through crowds is that secondary melee attack you can do. I think that is really smart for them to put it on the secondary mouse button in order to really hammer home exactly how often you're going to be expected to use it, and to be able to use it at a moment's notice. This is like it's a shove. You start throwing elbows. It doesn't do a lot of damage. You can one shot a passive common infected if you hit him from behind. This is mostly for pushing enemies back. And that's really important because the common infected is kind of the regular fast zombies. If they gang up on you, they will hold you still if you're trying to run past them.
The term in the community is common locked.
Cool.
You become common locked. Yeah. You get to learn a cool, fun vocab that you can apply in real life. Like, God damn, that Excel sheet really common locked me this morning. Sorry, boss. That shove is obviously super useful. They put it on a cooldown, so you cannot just spam it forever, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
And then putting on the second mouse button kind of accomplishes two things in terms of communication. One, your point that you're going to be using it all the time. Two, second mouse button is not iron sights.
Nope.
This is not that type of game.
Nope. You're going to be firing from your hip.
Yep. When you hit the right mouse button and you don't pull up iron sights, it communicates something to you about the pace of play.
Yeah. I mean, there are weapons where you will look down a scope, like some of the rifles and stuff, but there's
a sniper class.
Yeah, those are limited. You do get primary weapons. Generally, these fall between shotguns, machine guns, and rifles. There are variations between these, including upgrades that you can find, usually as you progress through a campaign. My understanding is that this hasn't happened to me, but I've seen tell of people being kicked if they pick up anything besides the shotguns.
It is the automatic weapons are newbie weapons in the toxic multiplayer part of this. In that part of it. You want to have shotguns. You have specific shotguns, but their shotguns are better than other ones.
Yeah.
Here they're not often straight upgrades.
Yeah.
But there is kind of a community consensus on what's best.
Yeah. Like the auto shotgun can definitely take a bunch of people down, but it chews through ammo really fast. I like the mid range shotgun where it's not pump action. It's like they call it the tactical shotgun or something like that. Yeah, I also enjoy the burst fire assault rifle, and I really like the hunting rifle stuff. I like picking off undead down the road, kind of stopping trouble before it hits us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very fun. It's and it's entirely different. As somebody who's watched a bunch of the professional kind of multiplayer stuff of this, it's very different than how I play it.
Yeah.
Because I play like you do, just kind of following my heart and doing fun stuff. Whereas if you get the sniper rifle, you're expected to be like in a position just scoping for smokers. And that's not a dreadful euphemism in the game.
Yeah.
One of the things that they changed for this, or that changed in the development process, is the weapons have limited ammo. So you get ammo replenishments, which used to be a lot more common. They wanted people to switch out weapons on the fly.
Yeah.
And need to. So more weapons with a shallower ammo pool, almost like a canted version of Breath of the Wild's equipment durability mechanic, like what they were trying to enforce with that. So the idea is you either have to conserve your ammo using your sidearm or your melee weapon, or you need to be prepared to switch to something possibly suboptimal.
Yeah.
Which create, again, those really emergent moments like, oh, I'm out of ammo for my shotgun or my machine gun. All I have is the hunting rifle, and I'm going through a series of houses. Yeah. That's going to be weird. Things like that.
I learned to kind of just let Jesus take the wheel on this one. Just because, I figured, all right, the AI director is really good at doling out enemy pacing. It knows what it's going to be giving me. So it's going to be kind of equipping me or setting up different scenarios based on the weapons that are there. So I just kind of rode with it. I just figured, oh, there's a scoped rifle here. Well, let's just kind of see like how I can make that work for this. I wanted to break myself out of kind of complacency patterns as I was going through these maps.
Yeah. And I'm playing casually or playing by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, this is very versatile and allows for a low floor and a high ceiling. That's how I play as well. Yeah, that sounded like I was trying to trick on you from stunt on you from being. It's stuff I know. I don't play at that level at all.
Yeah. I play this game to have fun. is the thing that I do.
Yeah, it's not professional for me.
Right.
I'm not getting paid in like the $200 that Boom Headshot 2019 tournament managed to pull together for the winning squad. You have throwables as well. You have grenades. These are either Molotov cocktails, pretty self-explanatory, big field of fire. Pipe bombs, which there is like an alarm clock or a timer taped to a pipe bomb.
They've got a smoke detector, tied to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you throw those, it attracts enemies into a little area and then blows them up. Boomer bile, which just attracts undead without blowing them up, which is useful because you can turn different undead against each other.
Yeah.
And such.
Slathering a tank with some bile is a good time.
Real fun.
Yeah. Molotov cocktails to me seem really overpowered. Is that part of the meta for this?
You want to have one because you want to set the tank on fire.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the tank on fire, they're on a time limit. They'll burn unless they'll burn all the way down.
Yeah.
In terms of in the actual display, I don't think that they're used that often.
Yeah. I ended up using those in addition to you have explosive objects that are found in the environment, gas tanks and oxygen tanks and things like that. That you can shoot, setting up areas of fire at choke points when zombies would be coming or infected would be coming was pretty useful. But it's kind of like high risk, high reward because especially if you're playing with AI, they love running right into that fire.
Yeah. Who doesn't? It's very to throw a Molotov cocktail behind you if you're being chased.
Yes.
In this game, it is great because the common infected will die from just a spot of fire.
Yeah.
like total wusses. Whereas me, you know, I'd be like,
fire cooks my food.
You're not tangible. You also have a backpack item. So this is most times going to be a first aid kit. You can also have a defibrillator, which will allow you to bring back a dead teammate, and then ammo upgrades that can be deployed from the group. It has 4 uses. You either get explosive ammo or incendiary ammo, both of which are incredible, but it only lasts for a single clip.
Yeah, or a Costco mega pack of laser sights.
Yes, yeah, which those you'll find in the wild. Those are not a backpack item, but those are very useful.
Yeah,
and those are cool because they introduce attention to the gun switching. Because if you switch to a new gun, it doesn't have your laser sight.
Yeah,
so then you're like, do I ride for more ammo? You know, and kind of push it, or do I switch to something that is more efficacious now?
Yeah, the laser sight isn't just a cosmetic thing; it gets rid of the accuracy penalty for moving. So you can run and gun, even with guns you should not be able to do that with.
Yeah, there's a cartoon reality at play, aka the Valve. Zone.
Yeah. And then your final slot is for consumables. You either have pills, which will give you temporary health. The upside to those is you can just pop those. It doesn't take it doesn't take time to use like a first aid kit. Or you can use adrenaline, which gets you temporary speed boost, which is really useful for some of the crescendo events we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and adrenaline will also boost your speed.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, not your speed, your health as well, but to a lesser extent.
Yes.
If your health is depleted, you're incapacitated. There are other ways to be incapacitated. We'll talk about that. You lie on the ground. You can shoot with just your sidearm, and your health will tick down. A teammate can come pick you up, and you can get downed 3 times.
Yes.
Then you go into black and white. You start seeing in black and white. That means the next time you're dead. When you come back, you end up with temporary health that kind of depletes down on its own. And yeah, like you need to have that first aid kit or you will die.
Yeah. And finding moments, especially when the AI director is kind of going to give you a lull, finding moments where you can heal up or heal each other is really important to the pace of play.
Yeah. And if you cannot bring somebody back, either with a defibrillator after they've died entirely, they will show up in a closet later in the level, turning this into a weird Benson and Moorhead movie where you keep finding the same person who dies and you keep finding them down the road trapped in a closet begging to get out.
It does introduce some Primer-esque paradoxes as it goes. Yes. Yeah. We've made a couple of allusions to the AI director, which I think is the kind of the star of this show for me. This is the kind of the nameless, faceless force that you are put up against. Valve decided to call it the AI director, but in reality, it's just their spawning algorithm. And I think it was an amazing thing for them to do to personify this.
It does a couple other things other than like this. It also controls the music cues.
Yes. Well, there's
it does a couple other things more than.
Yeah.
There's a music director as well. They work in tandem. It's your old pals Bernstein and Steinstein. But it does feel like a force throughout the game. What the director does is it spawns enemies and items based on how well you're doing. So things like, it's been a minute since you've had a horde and you're in this choke point. Let's go.
It's just sicko constantly standing at the window.
it is absolute sicko mode, but sometimes it's good sicko. And it's like, they had a rough time. Let's put a health kit in this side closet.
Yeah.
And this happens dynamically as you play through the game.
Yeah.
That's real cool.
Yeah, and I love how it works in concert with the designs of the levels themselves. Like these levels are structured in a really interesting way where there is a critical path. There's sometimes a few different ways through and around these places, but like if you venture off of that, what you will find is lots of small little side rooms, closets, little blind alleys. Almost literally. And what those are for is the director is looking for places that are out of eyesight where it can spawn entities, where it can spawn either enemies or weapons. or other supplies for you. So it's all of these different places, and obviously knowing where stuff might spawn is a big part of learning this game, and learning the levels. But it's also really intuitive if you're just kind of playing it casually and grazing at it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing it will do is it will change the geography of some levels as well. Literally, like it will put up fences or walls, things like that. So when you go through, for the last set of maps in the parish, you go through one of the cool New Orleans above ground graveyards, and the path that you can go through that will change on like 3 or 4 different permutations. Yeah, and they're ranked by difficulty. So that's another thing that the AI director takes into account. If you're having a really easy time, it'll give you the hardest path through the cemetery. Yeah, that takes the longest. Things like that. Yeah, it's real neat. How it works. It also, as we mentioned, it controls enemy spawns. It's going to control this mixture of common infected, which are just zombos. We all know zombos, and the special infected to make sure the level is paced really well. Yeah. There are other rules that special infected spawn by. Like they cannot spawn for, I think, 35 seconds. Yeah. After you leave the safe room. And this is entirely in single player when the AI director is doing it. When it is multiplayer, the special infected go on a timer.
Yes. And you can also, the players can pick spawn points, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's real fun. The way that these levels are designed, it's a pretty mind-blowing feat of level design because they had to design for 2 contrary players. They're designed to make a flow for the survivors and to have hidey holes and just places that you can spring ambushes from or snipe from, etc. as special infected. And they make level design considerations for all kinds of special infected. Like we're going to talk about them individually, but the hunter, for example, gets additional damage from jumping, like pouncing from a high place. Yep. So a lot of the levels will have really high bits of geography that would in another game would be have no collision. Yeah, because it's not meant to be used. Players, single players, the survivors can never get up there. Yeah, but as a AI hunter, you can spawn up there, and climb up. It's real neat. Yeah, how they kind of do double duty. Yeah.
We mentioned the music. Each player gets a custom mix depending on what is happening around them. And this is based on the enemies and the events, right down to each individual special infected, and like different activities that the hordes are engaging in. They all have different leitmotifs. So this is it's masterful. Like I love when a charger is out and suddenly somebody's watching Birdman in the next room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really audio game. Since you're kind of playing this game of Yomi with the special infected. Yeah. Because when you're playing multiplayer, once they spawn, they start making noise. So when you're playing as the infected, your game is to spawn as late as possible while still not being seen, because you cannot spawn if a survivor would be looking at you. Yeah. But if you spawn too early, they'll know you're there and you give away the game. Yeah. And the reason they know you're there is because of audio cues, the musical cue, and you making your signature grunts. Yeah.
And grunts associated with like particular behaviors too. So like the hunter, yes, when you crouch and get ready to pounce, you'll do like a almost like a mountain lion kind of thing.
Yeah. Or if any of them see you, they make a noise, and that's really clever because it's player side. From the survivor side, I keep saying player, even though they're both players. From the survivor side, that's useful information. That you want to listen for, and it's this huge kindness. For the infected, it's this huge challenge. Like, how do I minimize the amount of noise I'm making in this? And like you see people do things like spawn and then not look at the survivors so they don't make the looking sound until they need to. Things like that. It's real neat. Yeah. Yeah. And the music in this game I think is really good. I really like the chaos music. Yep. There's a horde on you music is incredible at conveying that mood.
Yeah, the just the cascading insanity strings that go.
Yeah, when you get boomer biled in this, like you feel it.
Yeah, yeah. And the AI director also plays kind of a heavy role in these kind of choke points, these crescendo events. We're going to talk about to talk about these. There are a couple of different varieties in the campaigns themselves, but usually this is you doing something to attract the attention of the of the horde and of the special infected in order to progress to accomplish one of the minor goals that is put in front of you.
Yeah, to get through things.
Yeah.
It's usually that or a boss.
Yes.
You'll deal with. Sometimes both.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a variety of enemies that you fight in this. The sequel added 3 new special infected to this and uncommon infected, which we'll talk about during the campaign. But let's go through them.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about these individual things which make, the primary antagonist of this.
Yes. The common infected, I think, do a really good job of communicating to you that it is really not worth killing more of them than you need to progress. You know, this is not about clearing a map, right?
You can't.
They keep on coming. Especially if you stand still, the AI director is going to keep sending stuff at you to move you along.
Yeah. And the other thing on normal difficulty or even on hard difficulty, as opposed to these being a threat to your health, they're mostly a threat to your movement. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned, when you're getting slashed, like you slow down, the game is really canny. You take less damage from behind than ahead. The game doesn't want you to just get slashed to death from behind without knowing it. Yeah. But it does slow you down. And you'll know it. You'll get a little indicator on your screen. In terms of hurting you, these things mostly work with other infected. Yeah. So if another special infected downs you, these become a big problem because what they do is they speed up your life timer.
Because they just they just stand around you and trample you. I love the way that these move. Like one of the improvements to the source engine that they made was like animation and running. Like these things, they're fast zombies, right? So when they're approaching you, especially when they're angry, they're going to run at a full tilt, and they will actually like lean as they go, and like figuring out like a way to get through a crowd of these by using a combination of your weapon and your shove is its own kind of skill and its own kind of fun, even beyond just clearing a path by, headshotting your way down the lane. It kind of feels like breaking through a line in a football game, getting through some of these areas.
I love how fragile they are.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about, like fall damage or ruin portal, like when you think about one change that would destroy a game, common infected take 3 shots to kill.
Yeah.
Game's ruined. Like you don't have a game.
Right.
The other thing I like is that every once in a while you can sneak up on these guys and they're not aware of you and they're standing around like sobbing or fighting each other. Like they'll kill each other. They'll just stand around vomiting. Like they have their own little routines. Yeah. That they have if they don't know you're there. It's cute.
Yeah.
The sequel brought in uncommon infected, which we'll talk about during the campaigns. Each campaign gets a specific one that has a kind of minor superpower.
Yeah.
To them. One of the other ones they did, the Fallen Survivor, which is a mashup of a bunch of different cut special infected that they did. They added for a crossover campaign that they added because this game's very generous. And this is, somebody who's like you, who's been picking up stuff, picking up supplies, and he runs from you at this point. So you have to chase him down through a horde, which is a real fun gameplay mode.
Yeah. I always like spotting these guys because they're dressed up like paramilitary people, and you can see the ammo on their back, or you can see the first aid kit on their back. And
little pinatas.
Yeah, it's usually worth. I found it to be worth going after it. Who knows how many traps they let me into? Probably lots. Yeah. The huge interest is in these special undead, though, these kind of boss guys. And this is one of the, very specific ways that the game directly enforces both teamwork and a pace of play. And let's run through them. I don't have like specific notes for them because it's pretty intuitive what they do. And I want to hear from you because I haven't done an awful lot of versus mode, like what it's like playing as them in versus.
Yeah, yeah. It's worth also noting that these guys are really iconic.
Yes.
This kind of formed the template for special zombies for video games. What is it? Not Dead by Daylight. The other one.
Killing Floor.
No. The one with the grappling hook.
Oh, Dying Light. Yeah.
Dying Light. That game. The State of Decay. They all have a boomer. You know, they all have a boomster and the huntress and stuff. Like they just take these. These just get stolen. You know, basically just entirely.
Yeah.
So the boomer is a big fat guy who is filled with this bile. It's real gross. He's like gurgling. All these goiters have like sprung up around him. Disgusting.
Yeah, it's full of methane gas, which is a pretty big deal because if you shoot him, he will explode.
Yes.
And so like this kind of forces you to be really, really aware of the position of your teammates, because you don't want to shoot him when he's right on top of one of your buddies, not because it'll do damage, like it will, like it won't be a good time, but because that bile, when it covers somebody, it causes a whole herd of the horde to spawn and converge on that person. It's like putting a big attack me sign on one of your teammates.
It blocks their vision, obscures their vision and such. The original version of the boomer did do damage, and it was to and the survivor side idea behind this is not only watch when you shoot these people, but also to stop you from just shooting whenever you see movement.
Yes.
You know, they trick you like early when you're first starting to play in this game. One of the guys pops out, your instinct is going to be to shoot it. It's almost like a mimic. Like it's there to give you that sense of doubt about what you're doing.
It's almost
shooting
always
one of these links in your face is also a bad time.
It's almost always spawned right around a corner. So you will, so as you're running around, like you'll turn into an alley or something like that. And then you'll fire in its close quarters, and then, you and a friend, etc. It's pretty bad news. These are real fragile. Like they're not hard, to take down, which makes them dangerous, for that explosion. They're effective at distance too, because they can vomit as well, and cover somebody with the bile.
And you can arc your vomit, like you can vomit a surprising distance in this. The way that these are used in multiplayer by the infected is to cause chaos for an attack. It's very, very key. It's considered one of the, you want to have a boomer. So if the enemy, the survivors are fighting a tank, or you have, the ideal setup for an infected team is a boomer and then 3 other infected that can, cap somebody, can incapacitate somebody on their own. That is a real good time. The AI director will very rarely give you, because it does control what special infected you spawn as when you're playing on that side, will very rarely give you quad cap, is what it's called. We have all 4 players. If you have a hunter, smoker, charger, and jockey, that doesn't really happen very often. So boomer is the one that you want to have out of that. And
it's also in versus the only way that you have to influence the horde. You don't actually play as the common infected. There were versions early on where you could, like as you were waiting to spawn, but that was just considered to be a little bit too fiddly. So they cut that out.
It was because you died too quick. It was just not very fun. Like the common infected just run at you and die in one hit. Playing as that is not exciting.
They exist to be killed.
Boomer is cool, iconic little fella. Makes really distinctive noises because he is based like largely in ambushes more so than the other ones. They made him kind of louder and more distinct noises. One of the things you do as a boomer is fall on enemies. You want to fall into the midst of the crowd and cause them to panic shoot you. And the boomer falling noise is very distinct. They make it really easy, very easy to hear.
Next up, we have the hunter. This is a wiry parkour guy who has no eyes. If you look under his hood, is wearing a hoodie. And this pretty much just exists to pounce and then pin down the survivors and attack them until one of the other survivors comes up and shoots and kills the hunter to get them off of him.
Yeah. These guys are great as well. They're like the scarier of these infected. Like they're made for terror.
It's a real shock
like.
and awe because of that shriek that they emit, and also they come out of fucking nowhere. I almost am never able to isolate them in a crowd, and only panic fire and shoot them in the air when they're on their way.
They that shriek that they do when they leap is something that people do in multiplayer to try to freak out survivors and get them to look around and distract them.
Playing Batman.
Basically. And they also, when you're playing as the infected, you have a lot of mobility that you don't have otherwise. So these guys can wall jump when you're playing as them, which is really cool. And the reason why you might want to do that is, again, if you pounce from very high up, you do a big flat amount of damage.
Yeah.
If you just pounce and immediately get cleared, you don't do very much damage at all. You want to get damage from height.
Yeah.
The other thing that these guys do in multiplayer is if you can get inside a horde and just scratch people, a lot of times they won't recognize that you're there, or you're not just regular common infected, but you're doing a lot more damage than that. So just doing your attack rather than your signature move is something for the hunter and the charger.
Yeah.
Is kind of a cool advanced tactic for them.
Just hiding in plain sight. Specifically with the hunter, I mean, they don't have a very distinctive appearance on their own. It's mostly in their posture that they distinguish themselves.
They stay real low.
Yeah.
So if they're with the uncommon or the common infected, they're below the kind of eye line.
Yeah.
When we say that they pin you, they put you down. Your camera, when you get pinned, will switch to third person as you're just being scratched, and one of your teammates either needs to shove the hunter off and kill him, or shoot you. It won't hurt you when the hunter's on you. It'll just hurt the hunter to kill it while it's on you.
The way that they handle friendly fire in this game is really smart, because if you're firing a shotgun, there's a chance that if you are trying to get this get one of the special undead off of somebody, you might hurt the person that you're trying to save. The way that it's determined is if a shot does any damage at all to an undead, in addition to the player character, it won't do any damage to the player character. So it will spare you. It will only effectively be friendly fire if the shot hits your buddy and your buddy alone.
Only.
Yeah.
If you're being careless, it's not like you're aiming and there's a little bit of spray.
Yeah.
You're not blamed for that.
Yeah.
Which comes in speed runs of this game. There's a speed run category for this, which are SL speed runs, which are single level, where they only do one of the campaigns. And to speed run this, you have to kill your AI companions. They are too slow, and they do it by changing the difficulty to obscene difficulty, where their companions will die in one shotgun hit, and then switching back to easy to get through the level. So they manipulate that. That's also something that scales with damage, which I think is really, or with difficulty, which I think is cool. Like the harder the game is, the more consequence there is for being careless and shooting your friends.
Yeah. The next special undead is I think my favorite of these, the smoker. This guy
Smoker's
rules. Smoker's great. It's like a sniper. But it will constrict people at a distance. It's the grossest looking to me, especially in the later Left 4 Dead 2 kind of like progressed version, where they're like just basically like their tumors are so profound that they become kind of tentacles. But the smoker, what it does is it has a big tongue that might be its intestine that can shoot an incredible distance across the map to constrict a survivor and pull them toward you. Oftentimes, if it is done correctly, if it's done smartly, either toward another special infected or into a place where rescuing them will kill them.
Yeah. You can drag people off ledges.
Yep.
With him, which will then incapacitate them. They're hanging on the ledge and need help, and then you're still free to go like reload. You have a kind of cooldown on your tongue. It's shorter if you miss your attack, but longer if your tongue gets cut. One of the coolest things you can do in this game is somebody can smoke one of your teammates, like grab them with its intestine tongue, and you can shoot the tongue and cut it in half, which is just badass, like shooting the noose, like Robin Hood hitting the noose.
Yeah.
With an arrow. Very, very cool. to do that. These things are really interestingly balanced too. Since these are snipers, they need to have a visual indicator of where they are, so they are constantly emitting smoke. If they're hiding behind something, you'll hear them kind of gag and everything, but you can also see where they're at.
Yeah.
Because of this little trail of smoke.
And I also like, I enjoy anything that introduces a consequence for killing an enemy in the wrong spot. But if when you kill the smoker, it kind of dissolves into a big cloud of smoke that will obscure vision for a while. So like shooting one of these in a doorway that you're trying to pass through, it might lead to you charging into further trouble without being aware of it.
Yeah. Really, really fun. If they can pull the survivor to them, they'll attack them and do a lot of damage. Otherwise, they'll just be choked.
Yeah.
And they'll do a little bit less damage. In terms of scoring, they do a cool thing here where if you are a smoker and you pull an enemy, or pull a survivor and paralyze them, you get points for all of the common infected that hit them.
Nice.
Even though you didn't do it, you set them up to be helpless.
Oh, that's good.
Kind of an early version of like the assist points.
Yeah,
that you'd get in other shooters.
Yeah, pulled over from late Team Fortress probably is how they calculated that.
Yeah, cool infected. Very useful. You can also cut the tongue as it's coming towards you. It doesn't have hit scan. It's a projectile. That is a really badass thing you can do. If you perfectly time melee, you cut the tongue before it hits you, and then you can just get to keep going.
Yeah. And then the smoker has revealed themselves by doing that. It basically left you with a couple of seconds of a big arrow pointing immediately to where they are.
Yeah, big red cartoon lightning bolt. The next three are those are the basic three that they had in the first game. Then they added three more on top of the boss ones, which we'll talk about at the end for the second game. And these are really interesting from a design perspective because they each answer a tactic that was very common in Left 4 Dead 1.
I'd be curious to hear this.
There was a prescriptive way to play Left 4 Dead 1, which is to, whenever anything bad happened, you get in a corner, two people kneel and use melee weapons, and the other people shoot until you clear out the horde. And that was what you do every single time. It always worked.
God, that just sounds so not fun. I'm really happy that I never got into a place where that was the expected behavior.
No, even when I was playing Left 4 Dead 1, I never did that.
Yeah.
This is, from reading about it. And you can see once like, oh, that's what enemies were doing. You can see how they designed these characters.
Yeah.
Specifically the first two.
Yeah.
The Charger is another big guy. He's got one gigantic calloused like meat arm and then one floppy little fella.
Just a little guy just hanging there. Just an exaggerated
pull out your
version.
Flaccid baby arm and jerked you off in front of everyone.
Like David Cross's character from Scary Movie 2.
Yep.
Or no, that was Chris Elliott's character from Scary Movie 2.
Well, how could you be expected to keep all of your Scary Movie 2 lore straight?
One of them had a little baby hand. It's like an exaggerated version of the Bandersnatch from Code Veronica, except it doesn't have a big reach. Instead, you play Toro with this thing. This is almost like it behaves a little bit like a miniature tank. To an extent, it gets a head of steam. You got to have a big run up, but when it gets up to speed, it will hit somebody and then push them like a really long distance, and then start pummeling them, like getting up on top of them, almost pinning them down like a hunter will.
Well, yeah, they slam them into the ground, or if they're under an overhead, slam them into the ceiling, which is a fun little bonus animation. You don't get that often. And it accomplishes two purposes. The person who it hits, it takes with it. So it's for separation.
Yeah.
If the survivors are holding up together, this allows you to separate one of them.
It's a big bowling ball going right into the pins. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it does that as well. Like it does, it grabs one of them. The rest of them that it just hits on the way, it will scatter.
Yeah.
And that's very useful. It stops them from being able to rescue their compatriot. It sets them up for other special infected. And you can see how this was specifically an answer to them holding up.
Yeah. It's
like
if
they're going to stick together, joined at the hip, like, fuck you, don't do that.
Stop turtling. Yeah.
The coolest thing this guy can do, this guy ends up being incredibly important in competitive multiplayer because there are certain, if a ledge is high up enough, you can charge enemy or survivors off the ledge to get an instant kill.
Yeah.
And that is very intentional. The very first level of this game of Left 4 Dead 2 has tons of these.
Yeah.
And they introduce the charger. You can see that what they're trying to do, like to show you this new tactic through level design.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that a tank would occasionally do in the first one. The fact that these are just put into the regular mix makes those dead drops a lot more dangerous to you, because it's all just so much more common.
And it's the most satisfying thing you can do in playing the infected in this game, I think.
To ring out
it's
somebody.
So fun. Yeah, like it's a suicide. Like you lost your character, but you will respawn in 7 seconds and they will not.
Yeah.
It's the way that scoring works in competitive Left 4 Dead. It's the amount of health you have. And then when you arrive at the safe room, if you take somebody out and they die, you've maxed out their points at 75%. They can never get better than that because they're missing an entire person, and that's without any damage on the other people.
Nice.
So very, very good.
Yeah. The next one is the Spitter. This ended up being one of the more interesting ones tactically. I found like this is a really cool addition. I think of the three that were added. The Spitter, it's a lady who spits huge blobs of acid. These will hit a person and cause damage over time. More importantly, their spit will coat an area in the acid, causing damage if anybody is walking through them. And then when the spitter dies, when it's killed, it leaves a big splash of acid around. This like exists, yes, to move you out of the areas that it corrupts, but also it exists to make choke points cause instant damage to you.
Yeah. The way this is oftentimes used is as a force multiplier, kind of for other special infected. Like the charger has you pinned somewhere or hunter has you pinned somewhere. If you spit on that, you'll just do incredible damage.
Yeah, to the person who's pinned there, but also anybody who runs to help them too.
Yep, it discourages you. And the way the spit works, the longer it's on the ground, the more damage it does. So it's not how long you've been in it. So if somebody is in some stale spit, you take big chunks of damage trying to save them. You have to wait for that to fade away. This obviously answers the turtling thing. If everyone's in a corner, you spit in that corner, they can't be in there. You force them to move. Yeah. I love the design on these. I like the design on all of them, like visually, but it's just really grim. Like you get to see the acid like dissolving her throat and jaw. So her mouth like hangs open.
Oh, and like her chest cavity and abdomen too. Like it's all like saggy. Like it's an old paper cup that has been like left out in the sun, full of something corrosive. Just ready to burst. The moment that anybody touches it.
Yeah. Interesting trivia with these guys. They were originally coded as having their like all the spit in their gut, kind of like a miniature boomer. Yeah. But the playtesters thought that she looked pregnant, and they kept making jokes about that. Ooh. And Valve, being a good company, was like, "Let's not do that.
Yeah, maybe let's not even imply that you're killing pregnant women."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so by odds, some of these infected have to be pregnant.
Yeah,
let's all be realistic. You are killing pregnant women in Left 4 Dead, and actually, most video games where women are an enemy, or people with wombs, yes, you're probably killing some pregnant people. But let's not draw a line under it.
Let's not draw. So what you're always doing? It's kind of like when Homer was picking Bart's name, and it was just like, okay, Bart. Art, Bart, cart, dart. Oh, we're good. What you want to do is you want to make sure you don't inadvertently put something in your game that'll be fart. That will become like a grim joke. A nickname, a tasteless nickname that is used by the player base, especially in a multiplayer kind of sense, because water will find its most gross level in this.
Yeah, gamer's gonna gamer.
Yep.
Kind of no matter what. They're disgusting. Bunch of little jockeys.
God, I love it. I mean, so I hate the jockeys. Like the jockeys are incredibly frustrating to be a victim to. What I love about the jockeys is they make awesome little like pervert Peter Lorre sounds as they go. Like they're just really just slavering for you. It's great.
They're humping your head. It's like that I Think You Should Leave sketch. Like Herbie Hancock pops up in the corner and goes, Toasty.
The jockey is represents everything that Herbie Hancock's music is against.
Yeah. Why do we tape everybody now? These guys are specifically for separation. Mm-hmm. They grab you and they can pilot you around. Again, you can see trying to, the focus of getting people to move or move away from their group. Mm-hmm. The first game had one special infected that could do that. All three of them in the second game can do it.
Yeah.
And it does damage to you as he moves you around. You have a very limited amount of control over where you go. Just the right amount to feel like helpless and annoyed. Really fun. And they can pull you off ledges. They can pull you so far back that the team will lose tons of progress to backtrack. A really cool thing that you aim for in multiplayer of this is that there are levels that have drops that are not fatal, but just set you back a long way.
Yeah.
And if you can jockey somebody off that edge, they have to do tons of backtracking, and you've just bought yourself another like infected spawn, like another chance to attack.
Yeah,
for your team,
or a chance for another special infected to pin that person down, and the other people are like, God damn it, like they're unable to reach them.
Or we try 4 with 3.
Yeah, yeah. And that's in addition to doing stuff, kind of like the smoker would, where you are where you're teaming up with other special infected, trying to like lead somebody into spitter goo, trying to lead somebody into a boomer that's waiting out into a line of sight for the smoker, etc. Additionally, like these little guys, they're very difficult to hit because they're small and they have a shitload of HP.
They're the second tankiest after the charger of the regular special infected, the non-boss special infected. They're great. They're real disturbing looking. They're little critters. They're just little guys. They're little Danny's DeVito. If you imagine Danny DeVito with like smaller legs, which I do.
Yeah.
So on the regular, what of it?
It's a problem. It has gotten between me and my loved ones.
Yeah, the pills aren't helping anymore. I just can't stop imagining small leg DeVito. Like,
oh god.
The last two are present in the first one, and they're considered boss.
Yes.
Special infected, even though only one of them you get to play as.
Right.
Which is the tank.
Yeah, the tank, the definition of an emergency. Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk. Basically.
Yeah.
Kind of small legs, but big, crazy arms, just so much muscle. The evolved version, so the designs changed between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. The idea being that time has passed and the special infected are kind of evolving. The muscle has grown so much in his face that just his tongue kind of sticks out.
Yep.
The bottom, like he's got so much neck muscle. Here, and this guy tons of hit points, gets his own special theme song, has a lot of abilities, and plays really differently in multiplayer. So let's talk about the kind of single player experience for the tank, or the survivor side.
Version of this. So the survivor side, it is signaled by its leitmotif is this really ominous horn kind of section, and you will know one is around not just because of the loud thumping or whatever, but the screen literally shakes. It is so heavy and it is so big, and it is effective at a huge range because it can either pick up rubble from the ground and throw it at you, or punch cars at you, which if they hit you will automatically down you.
Yeah, just incredible. Cars and dumpsters, like certain, objects.
Certain props, yeah.
When they punch you, it does a lot of damage and throws you a very far distance away. And you can only, take this a couple times, and be okay. If they get you into a corner, that's a real bad time. This shows up in multiplayer more than anything, but if you're very skilled, you can dodge these. If you jump, you can jump over the tank's punches.
That's ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous.
Is the wind up that apparent? between them? Because I mean,
I don't know. People do it. Like you basically have to, in multiplayer, you basically have to get somebody into a corner.
Yeah.
For this to work, or have them boomed and distracted to get in the hits on the tank.
Yeah.
People can pretty consistently do it.
Yeah. I ask a question like that, and then I realize, enough people played this game for enough time that literally everything has been discovered about it. Like, it is just by brute force, people have figured out every single like square inch of this. So of course the answer is, have people figured out how to do that? Yes, they have.
Yeah. I was watching speedruns of this last night, and there's a crescendo event in the parish that one of the ways to skip it is like 2 frame perfect jumps to make it that are just like really bonkers.
Oh gosh.
To see.
Yeah.
But the tank is a big deal, and you want to, one of the things I really like about this game, we'll talk about it when we talk about aesthetics and presentation, is the opening cutscenes / trailers for this communicate a lot.
They do.
To you. The first one, very specifically, it shows them running into the special infected for the first time. And they're like, what do we do? Run or shoot? And then, Bill says both. And that tells you how to deal with the tank as an AI.
Yeah.
You need to be putting distance between yourself, complicated by the special infected and the common, while still chipping it down. The damage. Also, as we mentioned before, if you set it on fire, it starts a ticking clock.
Yes.
For him. In versus mode, there's a ticking clock as well. What's really cool is they introduce a mechanic called rage. So when you play as the tank, you have a rage meter. It slowly ticks down. If you hit a survivor, it refills all the way to top. And if you can see a survivor, it doesn't go down. And so you end up playing these like kind of weird cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
Kind of things where you try to maintain line of sight while they're trying to pick you off. You're throwing rocks at them to try to refill your meter. If it runs out, it passes to a new player. But if it runs out again, it passes to the AI, and the AI is not as good at playing them.
Yeah.
So you, when a team and its team infected, when you're watching competitive multiplayer of this game, gets a tank, they are waiting for a good setup to coordinate with their friends, or finding a good place where they can punch cars.
Yeah.
At the survivors.
Yeah. So it's a way for them to mandate for players constant engagement. Like, this is not, you're not waiting for an ambush because you don't want to give up your opportunity that is going to be doled out, very sparingly by the AI for particular events.
It's not very role playing, adjacent. The tank doesn't ever charge in.
Yeah.
Until it's the right time during competitive. It kind of it makes the game more slow paced when a tank is on the map until it is suddenly a huge emergency.
Yeah.
It's real fun to watch. And one of the things they do on the tournaments and stuff I watch is they'll go into, they call it the embarrassing name of the war room.
Oh God.
Which is the chat. Yeah, I know. Gaming is fucking so embarrassing.
Yeah.
The war room. And they're discussing like what they're doing. Like you come around the side, like we want to get go ahead and sacrifice your spitter because we really want a boomer for this. And they'll just run a spitter in and go up and start slashing people and have no choice to kill her. So they can get the optimal special infected to do a really good attack with the tank.
Yeah.
And when they come together, they're things of beauty. Like it's real fun to watch really good tank play.
But it involves going into something called a war room.
Yeah, you have to talk to your people and plan and strategize as if this were real, which is something I can never really do. I can just watch it for funzos.
Yeah, I don't have to debase myself.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
I feel kind of dirty even talking about it. Competitive Left 4 Dead is one of the dorkiest things, and I have a lot of dorky interest as like a fan of ventriloquism and professional stage magic and stuff. There are a lot of incredibly dorky things I like. This is definitely one of the dorkiest things I've gone pretty deep on.
Yeah. It's great. I love that, at least for me, I've not played this enough where like dealing with a tank feels rote at all. It pretty much is, every time it shows up, because of the way the game varies things, it's always just a little bit different.
Yeah. They're good friends.
Yeah.
The witch is the other boss infected. And you don't get to play as the witch because the witch is most of the time just an environmental hazard.
Yeah. The creepy one at that.
Yeah. Flavor wise, I really love these things. They're real creepy.
Yeah, they're women who are isolated. They are sitting down usually at choke points, or in if the game is being generous, like in the middle of a large kind of chamber. You know, that you have to skirt around, sobbing. You can hear her for a good long time around. Oftentimes just, you know, putting you really on edge for reasons that we're going to describe, you know, in addition to the fact that it's, you know, creepy wailing, that is going on. And there's a red glow around her to kind of help you spot her. And when we say she's an environmental hazard, you do not want to anger the witch. You do not look at Happy Fun Ball. You do not touch Happy Fun Ball, because if you startle the witch, she will kill you.
Yeah. She hits you once and downs you automatically. As a balance factor, she will stay and keep slashing the person who angered the witch.
Yeah.
If she just, you know, switched from person to person, you would die.
Yeah, it'd be too much.
You know, yeah, basically immediately. So instead, she does that. You can kill the witch. It is called, again, I'm going to use gamer terms during this podcast. I probably should have put a warning up front that like gamer terms are within, like spray painted on the side of the building. Like gamer terms
don't gamer terms inside.
Yeah.
Don't term gamer inside. Oh man. Yeah.
But you crown the witch,
and the O is a 0, so it's like crowned / crone.
Pwned. Yeah, it's crone pwned. If you shoot her twice in the head with a shotgun and all the pellets hit, you'll kill her. Yeah, and you can do that really fast. So crowning the witch is a thing.
You only have like a couple of frames to do that too, as she's getting up.
Yeah, because she gets irritated if you get close to her, if you shine light on her. So you want to go flashlights off there, and you can hear her getting more irritated. So you know when someone's about to startle the witch.
Yeah.
A real cool thing is the special infected can scratch the witch and up her irritation level. So you can, Hunter can go crouch behind the witch, scratch her a couple of times. It makes her, have a hair trigger, and then people will try to shoot the hunter, and if they hit the witch, they've upset the witch.
Yeah, then it's game time. Yeah.
Real neat. And there's some cool environmental witches. The passing, that campaign has the wedding set piece, which I love.
Yeah, and then my favorite campaign, the Hard Rain, with the sugar mill. It was just a glitch, and they're like, oh, it's kind of fun having a level that's all witches. I mean, what if we just say like, oh, they like sugar? Okay, cool. They like sugar then. Yeah.
That ends up being a huge one for multiplayer. A lot of tournaments take place in Hard Rain. So much so that I want to see other maps.
Yeah.
I'm watching, but because it's so cool and it's really elegantly designed too. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But the witch is its own kind of emergency. I mean, and when I said if the AI is being generous, it'll be put in the middle of an open area. Oftentimes it'll be in a hallway, and it kind of is left to you as a team to decide, okay, who has the least health. So when they're brought back, we were going to have to heal them anyway. Okay, you go and startle the witch, because we're gonna have to gamble, and we don't want to gamble with somebody who's at full.
Yeah. And there are things you can do. You can startle a witch from a distance and count on it taking a while for her to get to you.
Yeah.
And everyone focuses fire. She only tries to kill the person who startled her.
Yes.
She doesn't get distracted. So
yeah, she's
very focused.
Yeah.
Team player.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I played more, I played more Left 4 Dead 1 than Left 4 Dead 2. In my memory, the earliest versions of Left 4 Dead, she actually killed you the first time that she attacked. Like it would you would have to respawn in a closet down the way. Did they soften that? Because
it's dependent on difficulty level.
Okay, that's weird, because I definitely wasn't playing super high level Left 4 Dead 1 when I was running it.
Yeah, it might have been like that. I could just be misremembering. I know now it's tied to difficulty level. But at the very beginning, I don't think I got in on Left 4 Dead 1 on the ground floor necessarily, so I don't know if I remember.
Yeah. Well, I was playing it on Xbox, and it wasn't that's not necessarily the best way to play it either. So that might have been
necessarily the worst way to play it.
I know, right? I didn't have
other than the Japanese arcade game.
I didn't have a PC that could reliably run it at the time. So yeah, I was playing Xbox Live. It was easy to play with friends on that though.
Yeah. Let's talk about the different game modes that are included in this.
Yeah. So campaign and versus, we've kind of described those to a certain degree. Campaign is almost like for lack of a better word, like the single player story mode that you're going to do. What is nice about this is if you're playing this and you're not like in an explicit removed from the internet single player campaign, it is drop in, drop out co-op. So you don't have to like gather in an army and then go. If somebody wants to join you, if somebody drops in, they just inhabit one of the survivors and then you go, which is nice, nice and fluid. And versus, if you're a survivor, is going to play very similarly to that.
Yeah. The way that versus mode works, it has that point system that I mentioned earlier. And you take turns. So, one team will be the survivors, the other the infected, and then they swap, and then you go to the next map. So you play each map twice, once from each side.
Yeah.
Of that. Survival is kind of a horde mode of this. I haven't messed around too much with survival, but there are a lot of unique survival maps.
Yeah.
Which is cool. A lot of fan, it's Valve, so they folded in fan content. So a lot of unofficial mods were added to this.
Yeah.
Same thing with scavenge mode, which is basically a gameplay mode that is the finale of the first level of this.
Yeah.
Writ large. So this is fun and good. I played the least with survival and scavenge modes. Just a little bit of those.
Yeah, those ones are a little bit more specialized. And if I'm loading up Left 4 Dead, it's for the campaign, or versus. If I'm being honest, the last two modes that we have here are more like modifiers on the initial stuff. So realism mode is like a difficulty modifier that it's like incredibly difficult. And it removes all of the auras that are put over players, so you don't get the outline on somebody when they are when they're down on the ground, which requires you to really stick together, because anybody can die for basically any reason. Anybody can be downed, and it won't be clear. The game will not immediately make it clear where they're at if you're going to rescue them.
Yeah. It is like ultra difficult mode. One of the reasons I think this game is very generous, we'll talk about with release, like other people did not think that this got a lot of weird, dumb gamer revolts, but is mutation modes that they added. I was playing this game when they were releasing these live.
Yeah.
So once a week you would log in and you would learn what the new mutation was.
That's so good.
It's super cool. These are just little modifiers that change the game in really cool, unique ways. Specific to me, for my purposes, I played a lot of Last Man Standing, which is a single player mode for this where they get rid of common infected, and it's just you. So you're going through the game. It is atmospheric and scary in a way that the main game is not. As you go through, because any uncommon infected can pin you. There's nobody to free you. So if you get tagged, you die. But you also are free to just pay attention and jump at every shadow and look in every corner. Yeah. For hunters and smokers and such.
Zero distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really neat mode. They released a version of that where you only had a samurai sword as well, which was pretty rad. Very cool and difficult.
Yeah, this was a little bit after my time with the game, so I never really fucked around with them. I do like it whenever this kind of thing pops up, the craft your own game mode kind of thing.
Yes,
by messing with the different levers.
Yeah. And these are all, they stopped adding new ones, but they are around now, so you can play these old ones on there.
Yeah.
And there's just, there are other ones that are not challenging. They're more for empowerment. So like things like you end up with a chainsaw, which usually has limited ammo, It's a rare melee weapon. But you have unlimited ammo. With a chainsaw, so you get to do that.
Doom mode.
There's ones where only tanks show up. So 4 tanks. That's a real bummer.
Did somebody order 4 tanks?
Yeah, here you are.
The tanks have been authorized to use wrestling moves on the children.
Really neat.
Yep.
I love these.
Yeah. Let's talk about like the story and the aesthetic stuff, because unique to multiplayer games, multiplayer focused games, this does have kind of a narrative to it, and it's told in a really unique way.
Let's get yelled at for liking this stuff, as opposed to just liking it as a wireframe to prove we can frag other people.
Yeah, let's get yelled at for caring about the softer sciences.
Yeah,
the softer sciences of play.
Why could we ever treat a video game as anything other than a way to prove ourselves on the field of honor?
Yeah. The outbreak in the game, what we're dealing with is this. It is a pandemic of this disease nicknamed the green flu. Which is like rabies, in that it takes people and makes them psychotically aggressive in order to spread itself. And also that's, it's airborne, it's just general zombie movie disease rules. Kind of plays fast and loose. People are infected for whatever reason, will move the story along. And there are certain people that it mutates much more profoundly, and that's how you get the special infected.
Yes. And there's like fan lore theories as to what is true about the person to turn them into this. Like the smoker was obviously a heavy smoker, things like that.
Yeah.
The Left 4 Dead 1 survivors start out with a story in Pennsylvania and travel south, and they are seemingly immune.
Yeah.
We know about that. We did an adaptation decay on the comic. This is a Typhoid Mary situation. Yeah. Tragically, they're infecting everyone around them.
Yeah.
Big twist.
The asymptomatic carriers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning that if even if there was civilization for them to go back to, they would just ruin it.
Yeah. You can't come home again.
Yep.
The vault, the overseer sends you back out. At release, these 2 campaigns, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, weren't tied together at all.
Yeah.
But and the individual campaigns weren't tied together either.
Right.
So things like you would have these little, you'd have an individual little movie that you'd go through. Player testers, though, didn't like this because it felt like their progress was being reset.
Yeah.
Every time, being set back like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they kind of added this meta narrative to kind of patch everything together, making this, if you play this back to back to back with all of these, it's a pretty serviceable 10-hour action game, Yeah.
Yeah. You spend the original survivors, make their way, kind of down south, and then pass off to the other survivors, quite literally.
Yeah. And the story of the game here, in kind of a, like, let's say taking Valve's storytelling and, cranking it to the max, is told primarily through graffiti on the safe room walls, where anonymous characters are going to be leaving notes, for each other, sometimes just taunting each other and, being crude, or, writing, X and Y forever, that kind of deal. But also, like the more meaty ones are, like, we're informing each other of whereabouts, like, hey, we moved to the mall, like, oh, head to this port, don't go to this place because it's been overrun, etc. And then also people guessing at the nature of the illness, like defacing signs saying like, yeah, washing your hands won't help with this one, that kind of deal.
Well, it's I love that about the second game specifically, is that you get the environmental storytelling that are the survivors talking to each other. You also get to see the efforts to combat it.
Yes.
The CDC attempting to do something about this. Like, you get to see their little setups and stuff where they treated this like a regular pandemic. And it was not.
No.
Very neat. The original group of survivors reaches Georgia, and then they pass off to the second group of survivors, who are heading to New Orleans. The cast on this is very, like, uniformly charismatic. I think. I like all these characters a lot.
Yeah. No,
not a dud among them. Not somebody who I just think is dumb.
Yeah.
Or not fun.
Even people who you think would be pretty boring, like, I don't know, like among them, Lewis seems like he would be just, he's just an office worker or whatever. Kind of almost like a Simon Pegg's character from Shaun of the Dead stand-in kind of guy, even down to his attire. But like the way he's just fucking over it is really good.
He's very optimistic about things, like Lewis is.
Oh yeah, I mixed him up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. The Francis is real over it.
Yeah.
And should we talk about the individual dudes?
Let's talk about them for the campaigns. But
they're all very charismatic.
Yeah,
I think. There's tons of voice acting. This is also random, so you won't get the same comments or conversations.
Nope.
Based on things, which adds to that replay kind of arcade value. If you play through as Ellis, you're going to get different stories as you go through of his colorful backstory.
Yeah. And I love the I love the way that the voice acting just highlights the relationships between these characters as well. They all have very pronounced personalities, and they bristle at each other. But like even over the course of a campaign, they kind of become a little bit more cohesive. There's like a nice little arc built in for all of them.
You're getting little tiny scraps of their relationships and dynamics through multiple playthroughs.
Yeah.
So you play Left 4 Dead 1 through one time, it takes 90 minutes or something, or a couple hours. And you get a sense a little bit that like Bill is seeing Zoe as a daughter figure.
Yeah.
And you play it a few more times, you get more and more evidence, and it kind of solidifies these relationships as you play through.
Yeah.
It is a cool way to tell a story, a cool way to establish character.
No
one just saying their trait out loud.
Right. It's great too, because that voice acting, specifically in 2, because they really upped it. But that voice acting serves like a tactical gameplay role. Automatically, when you look at an item, your character will call out, the famous one being pills here. Shouting about the presence of pills, whether they're there or not. But also like your character, when you can either hear the special infected yourself as the player, but the character can also say, there's a boomer around here or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is incredibly smart, because instead of taking up the voice chat, saying like, all right, there's some weapons over here that I saw, instead of like just filling it with chatter about, reporting, the battlefield conditions to everybody, it really frees you up to actually like work at a bit of a higher level, either establishing your roles or, planning your path through individual scenarios. I think it's really smart the way that they let the characters do a lot of the work for you when it comes to communication.
Yeah. And when you end up doing both,
yes,
when you're playing the game, but it is useful that it for single player that happens, and that the in-game voice acting does the low level stuff for this. I think the game still looks real good.
Yep.
It's very functional. Like some of the animations are not very realistic, but that's okay, because there is this kind of heightened, slightly cartoonish reality to Valve's stuff. And the at the time, and even still kind of now, it's impressive the number of enemies they put on screen.
Yeah.
It basically looks infinite.
Yep.
And they leaned into that. Like people really liked doing that, like just killing a lot of enemies at once. And that is why they ended up adding the alarm to the pipe bomb.
Yeah.
Initially, was to put all the enemies there and just get to watch a huge explosion of ragdolls.
Yeah. Like sometimes you might not notice how many things are in play, but there were definitely moments where I just surveyed the battlefield after I was done and just saw it carpeted with bodies. Which sounds really psychotic when I say it out loud.
Yeah. It gives you a very palpable sense of a horde.
Yes.
Which is a thing, like, that is one of the classic zombie scarinesses, is that there's just too many to deal with. It is a numbers game. And that has been a hard thing historically for video games to express.
Yeah.
My favorite zombie video game series, which is Resident Evil, doesn't really do that. And I think Dead Rising was maybe the first game I saw that kind of did it.
Yeah, that was like the selling feature of that at the start.
Yeah. Now it's much more common, but at the time it is hard to overstate how cool it was.
It was a feat, and I think that a lot of the things that make this still hold up today, technically, if you're playing it, especially because any machine can run this, super, super smooth, is the fact that it's the primacy of art direction over technical detail, over photorealism. It's really stylized, and there are lots and lots of like visual filters going on. Like there's color correction, there's film grain, there's like a vignette effect that kind of just gives this a bit of a small kind of like filter of looking like an old movie.
Because this is Valve, we get those gameplay and level design tropes, which, those commentaries, again, if you're at all interested in level design, mandatory listening.
Yep.
There's one of them for the first Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
So these are things like, distinguished silhouettes, sound design of every enemy being a cue, lights pointing you where to go. These are big maze-like levels where you never don't know where to go, and you're never thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm never like, oh, the lights are going that way, that means I need to go that way. You just do it because it's intuitive.
Yeah.
And Valve have basically mastered this at this point.
It's some of the best in the biz. And it's funny because, it's really noticeable when a first person shooter developer specifically doesn't observe these rules. You don't want to say like, oh, we've solved it. Just do what Valve does, because you don't want to say every problem's been solved and every game, should be the same. Like that isn't a real, isn't a great situation if that's where we've reached. But also, like, a lot of the work has been done for making spaces readable in first person.
If you want to make the player intentionally confused,
yes,
then that's fine. But if you want them to be able to intuitively make their way through it, these are really tried and true methods of doing it. There are other methods as well. These methods are really good and work.
For sure.
Shall we talk about development?
I believe that we shall. At the beginning, I said this was developed by Valve. In reality, it was developed by a team that was acquired by Valve, Turtle Rock. It was a studio that was founded by people who had worked on the mod version of Counter-Strike, along with some people who had worked at Westwood on the Command & Conquer series. And they were kind of brought into the fold with that mod making experience to work on Half-Life multiplayer modes. So they made Counter-Strike Source. They updated that for the Source engine. That was like one of the most popular multiplayer first-person shooters for a very long time. And the very good and underrated Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. Turtle Rock made that.
Yeah, cool developer. They started working on Left 4 Dead in 2005, taking inspiration from horror movies to make a game that kind of mixed the appeal of single and multiplayer.
Yeah.
And the kind of big breaking point for them was a preview of this game was included in the Orange Box. We talked about the Orange Box before, something that doesn't feel like it could happen now.
Nope.
Not even close.
The Orange Box was just this miracle. It descended from heaven on a cloud.
Yeah. Yep. Just not. We don't do games that way anymore. Turtle Rock got acquired by Valve in 2006.
Yes,
they gobbled them up.
Yeah. This game is built on the Source engine, an updated version, the 2008 version, with improvements for character animation, and then specifically lighting and visual filters. And it was updated again with Left 4 Dead 2 to make the common infected more variable in appearance and also show much more, let's say, battle damage. Yeah.
Yeah. The early versions of this game were only versus. Just versus mode, but this was really hard to balance. So they ended up developing the AI director and made a split campaign and versus mode for this. And that's all Left 4 Dead 1 stuff we're talking about, just to be clear.
Yes.
Even though this is an episode of Left 4 Dead 2. We'll talk about how they're linked in case you're doing this as a podcast as service.
Yeah. Just the entire development story is I could go from Left 4 Dead 1 to Left 4 Dead 2 in here. So a real smart decision, I think. Early on, they had the idea to include this merit and demerit system, kind of as a meta score for individual players that would keep track of teamwork and bad behavior across a campaign. To kind of give you feedback, them not making it into a who can get the most bad boy points by trolling and griefing your team, I think was an incredibly good choice.
Zoe calls it hell maxing. It's this new thing that she does. Tries to get so many Left 4 Dead demerits that she can't even be allowed into.
The doors of heaven are closed to her because she just intentionally startled so many witches.
Yep. The ultimate hell max.
Oh gosh, that's just such a basic community management thing. Like, just do not hand out black badges because people will see them as badges of honor.
Because people suck. People are, I'm doing the bad thing. Look at me, I'm such an iconoclast. And you don't leave that in players' hands.
No.
Even if this was used as intended, not just people collecting them, but people assigning black badges to people who they didn't like. That would make this. This is not a particularly newbie friendly game.
No,
like it still has that Counter-Strike problem of like there's a codified way to play it. And if you just play with puppies, like. You're either going to be playing with people who are your peers or with people who have put thousands of hours in this and know the exact right thing to do in every situation. I would get furious if like I spawned too early and, Fragmaster 99 gave me a demerit.
I really...
How undignified.
Undignified is a very funny way to put that. I pretty much already assume that if I'm playing with other people, I am making them go, ugh. I don't want to have it confirmed, No.
Yeah. And the way that what they have instead of that now is they just kick. You can vote to kick. People, which is a bummer if you're. When I first started playing this, I got kicked a couple times without knowing why, and it was a bummer. This is still not in the perfect multiplayer ideal.
Right, and that's a little bit of a consequence of the lack of communication as well. This will happen for any multiplayer game. There will be a meta that is that is codified, that is kind of locked in, and there's no way to learn it. You're just assumed to have been born always knowing it, or else you are irredeemable. And if
you don't know, you don't know,
and it's not worth teaching you.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's frustrating. We did a whole dispatch on it.
Yes.
So go back and listen to that.
Weirdly, that got some people really annoyed at us. That one,
really?
Yeah.
That
popped up in a couple of reviews when I still read reviews.
Oh, what were they mad about?
Oh, they were just mad that we were complaining about multiplayer stuff being toxic.
Oh, nerds. Yeah. Cool. Good job, nerds. These people don't like this thing that I like. Just that ProZD video.
I like that thing.
I like that thing. People who like that thing exist.
Oh gosh.
On the internet, you have to acknowledge every single possible opinion and edge case for every single thing. Like I was playing Gloomhaven over the weekend with Levi, and Levi was like, "Oh, I hope that I hope this doesn't spawn more guys." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I hope the world hunger ends."
I guess our priority is just a little bit different.
Different. Yeah, I think you're not, but we're built different because I hope this. It's what my least favorite thing about the fucking internet.
What an asshole.
Like that, guilt by association, and your silence on Blink is deafening. All three of those things fucking drive me nuts. Grody.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Initially when they were sketching this out, their idea was to kind of begin the game with this wide open city, to have kind of for the first part of it be this huge street map where you picked several routes. This ended up confusing the testers, so they reworked it to make the campaigns more broadly linear, and they took the work that they did on that and kind of spread it throughout the levels of the first game. We'll talk about when we get to the campaigns. I think that the campaigns of 1 are, good for what they are, but they pale in comparison to Left 4 Dead 2, primarily because Left 4 Dead 1 is a lot of sewer level. Left 4 Dead 1 is real first person shooter industrial spaces .wad, right?
Yeah, agreed. That's one of those things where it sounds like a cool idea. Having the wide open city. Not only would it be confusing though, but eventually players would just find the optimal path.
Yeah. And if you as a new player wander down a suboptimal path, you'd be kicked.
Yeah, you get kicked or you get one of the special Left 4 demerits. There are a couple of cut special infected. They're interesting to talk about. There are modded servers that reintegrate. This first guy, the Screamer, who is a fella in a straitjacket.
Yep.
He didn't attack. He just screamed to attract the horde. He would run away once you saw him or he saw you. This was deemed too difficult.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a silhouette that differentiated him from the common infected. You could see how he'd be really frustrating to hunt this guy down. So they kicked him.
Yeah.
They got rid of him and kind of folded into the Boomer's abilities. As we mentioned before, the Boomer used to just do damage.
Yeah.
And that's where they come up with the concept of Boomer Bile.
Yes. And I like that the Boomer ends up being it's so much more interesting because the Boomer summoning it's a punishment. It's a punishment for suboptimal play. Or for making a boneheaded decision, as opposed to like hit this guy who runs away or else it'll be a problem. It's a much smarter design, I think.
They also, I love how they use the scraps of their cut stuff.
Yeah.
And fold them into each other. Like one of the secrets to like really, that kind of confident development that we talk about where it feels like you're in a professional's hands is listening to feedback.
Yep.
Like all these choices that we're finding, it's like, oh, playtesters found this confusing. They stopped doing it. Players didn't like this. I think that ends up being a big difference when we play games where it's like, God, did anyone playtest this?
Right.
Maybe not. Like they might not have had the budget for it. One of the things that the Valve has is allows them to really own that stuff. And then they also are not afraid to kill their darlings and combine things.
Yeah.
So the Screamer got folded into the Boomer. Left 4 Dead 2 had a special infected called the Leaker.
It's fucking gross.
Real gross. Who would plant themselves and leave spitter goo, basically. But it wasn't very fun to like just plant yourself.
Right.
You had to play planting action. So they folded into the spitter. And also, whenever I read about the Leaker, I think about my friend Austin once bought a thing of like Hillshire Farms little sausages.
Ugh.
It was like little human sausages.
Okay.
You can eat.
Yeah.
And he opened them and they had gone bad. And it was back in the day, it was like 1997 or something. So he called the company and they sent him a free one, but he said they knew it immediately. He was talking about it. He's like, so you got a leaker, huh?
Oh, no.
And they instantly knew what he meant. Those Hillshire Farm sausage packages just have a chronic problem with leakers.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And he got in the fucking mail another package of sausages.
I try not to gamble on shelf stable meats. Is the thing. Same way I don't gamble on shelf stable dairy.
I was gonna say, see, that's why I use all my gambling points on shelf stable creams. I go pure creamers.
At the beginning of the pandemic, I thought I was so fucking clever. I went to Sam's and I got just a big box of creamers. I don't know if they were non-dairy or whatever. I was like, these things will last forever. And then I poured one in and it was all clotted and it was like, oh, actually these expire after like a month. Shit.
They're just comparatively shelf stable. But shelf stable is a lie that food tells you.
Yes. Along
the timeline, nothing stable.
Got yourself a leaker, huh?
Yeah, you got a leaker, huh? Like just
horrifying.
I get 20 of these calls a day.
All right, so here's what you got to do. You got to make sure not to look directly at it.
Yeah. We'll send you a patching trowel to patch up the package.
Now pards the laugh. Another design that was changed. This didn't appear. This is one that was just cut. I think it was pretty good. The initial concept for the smokers was something more akin to the Houdini splicers from BioShock. Yeah, I want to say Dishonored because it's a teleporter as well. So like if you were playing it, you would almost have like a little blink kind of deal. It would you would appear and disappear in puffs of smoke. The idea being to abduct people and remove them from the group. Obviously, the smokers still accomplish that, but how do you defend against that if it can just appear and then disappear out of nowhere?
Yeah. This was overpowered. It would be real fun to play as.
Yeah.
I love teleporting in a video game, but it is again, kill your darlings, right?
Yes.
This game's really well received. The first one was incredibly well received.
Yeah.
And it was really innovative at the time. There weren't games like this.
Yeah.
Really.
There were mods that I played that were kind of similar, like Natural Selection would be a pretty close one from back in like 2002. But like I was racking my brain, and as far as like cooperative multiplayer experiences like this, just not necessarily, around, especially in first person shooters, right? They released DLC for free on the PC. You did have to buy it using Spacebucks on Xbox Live. And some fans, kind of through miscommunication from Valve and also by a precedent that was set, they really believed that this game would be supported indefinitely, like Team Fortress 2, which itself was its own miracle of generosity on the part of a company.
It reminded me a lot of people who complain about Patreons for podcast.
Oh yeah,
like podcasts were just kind of grandfathered in as this free thing. Like, that should just be free work you do. Nobody should ever get paid for this though. That's ridiculous. No further questions though. And then when people started like making money off it, some people just couldn't handle it. Really freaked out. Like, that shouldn't cost money. It never has before. Because it was the way that things used to be is the worst reason to do something.
Yep.
In a vacuum, it's meaningless. Like you have to have other reasons to support something to make it worth doing.
Yeah.
And Team Fortress 2 is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous that they still update that.
Well, good. Also because they found, kind of icky ways to monetize it too.
Yes, so. They found ways to launder hats.
Yeah. So there was a minor consumer revolt that was started when, about 6 months after the launch of Left 4 Dead, Valve at an event that summer in 2009 announced Left 4 Dead 2. Showing off their showing off the new designs and the new survivors and stuff, and doing something really rare for them, which is turning around a sequel within a year, kind of on an absolutely defined schedule, and it would be released at full price, which people got together on Steam and they put together a boycott group that got up to about 40,000 members.
Yeah, Consumer Action Squad.
Assemble.
Yeah, nerds assemble. I hate this shit. Fan entitlement sucks. They were protesting the announcement. They said they didn't like the new visual direction. They threatened to hold the community hostage.
We know better.
And Valve really played ball with them in a way that I would not negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, we're telling you a sequel is technically necessary. There's going to be more new content for the first game. We're not abandoning it. And they even flew out the group. I can't believe this when I read it. Like, this group, this little ramshackle little consumer baby boy group revolt, they flew out the leaders to Valve HQ to have them test Left 4 Dead 2. And they were like, no, it was fun.
Yeah.
It's like, no fucking shit, you horrible little dipshits. Like, I hate that they gave these babies their bottle.
Yeah.
Like, It makes me so mad.
I mean, like, I hate that group was like, just the we know better, Valve is not unimpeachable, right? I think Valve makes a lot of terrible decisions. This is not a blanket, like just a blanket defense of any commercial practice that a developer will engage in. But like, I really hate the tone that I get reading about this, which is like, not only, do we know what is right and true for this series and what was established, but also like, you're going to split the community. We're going to hold this hostage, basically. They're threatening to tank this thing, which they ostensibly like.
It's because consumer revolt movements like that never actually are mad at the right thing.
Yeah.
Like this happened way before Gamergate, but it has whiffs of Gamergate in it, where it's like, Gamergate was like, oh, there's corruption in games journalism because Zoe Quinn, not because of like the Kane and Lynch developers literally trying to buy off Jeff Gerstmann. Like there really were problems with ethics in games journalism, but they weren't being addressed by that movement.
No,
there really are problems with Valve, but this game developer making and selling a game is not a problem with Valve.
Yeah,
you horrible little dipshits. Like,
perspective, please.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. The boycott group, as it became clear that Valve was going to support the original game with DLC, the boycott group just kind of started dissolving. And then Gabe Newell came out and said, like, yeah, actually the people who were members of that group, because Valve has all of the insights on Steam communities and stuff. Yeah, the people who were in that group pre-ordered Left 4 Dead 2 at a higher rate than the general public. So see that Call of Duty dedicated server boycott group image, where it was, just all of the people in there all playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or whatever.
They were bluffing.
Yes.
The goal with the sequel was to be bigger and better, with more emphasis on story and a greater level variety, which they accomplished, as we talked about. The original title was Back for More, which I'm glad is not the title of it. I think that's real silly. Like, hey guys, do you want to get together and play some Back for More? That just sounds...
It'd be a good tagline. It'd be,
Yeah, great tagline. Yeah. It sounds super dorky.
Yeah. Left 4 Dead 2 is it is both clear and not too dorky, And a possible, we already mentioned the leaker there. Most of the development on the sequel is like ways that they change the source engine to optimize the visuals, like we talked about, adding new models and variation on the common infected, different lighting and stuff like that. And you can see all of that, but it's just not that interesting to talk about. One of the interesting things was they spent a large amount of time optimizing and trying to make the improvements work on the memory limitations of the Xbox 360. This is one of those times where, by kind of not leading on a console, but really having the console release be a major part of the product release, it was a limitation, and a bit of a distraction for the team.
Yeah. A lot more DLC was released, both for the first game and the second game, and for both games that bridge them. Also, eventually, as we mentioned, folding the first game's maps into the second game's engine. So there's literally no reason in the world to play Left 4 Dead 1 now.
Yeah.
You just play those maps in Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah, and get the new infected. There's some notable changes that were made, again in response to feedback. It's great.
Yeah. It ends up feeling, for something that gamers revolted over, it ends up feeling very generous to me.
Yes.
As a game, like, when I booted up to refresh my memory for this, I was like, there's so much stuff here.
Yeah.
And this is not even looking at like fan created content. A lot of those got officially released with The Last Stand pack in late 2020. So very recently.
Wild.
User maps. And there are even more that you can find. And I've talked about these before on other episodes of the show, but there are really neat maps that change the game. They've recreated the maps of the first few Resident Evil games in Left 4 Dead. That's real fun.
Nice.
It's real clever to see how they handle things. Like in Left 4 Dead, in Resident Evil 1, you're in the snake room and a tank just falls out of the ceiling instead of the tank, or instead of the snake. Got a big laugh out of me and Derek.
Yeah,
playing that. and stuff. So there's tons of official and unofficial community content for this.
Yeah. And also like server mods too. You can play, on servers that are put into the general pool. But I was just poking around when I was setting up the community server for people to mess around with, so we wouldn't have drop-in randos. And there are just lots of different permutations and rules changes that are put in. Just an incredible amount of control that Valve was just like, hey guys, go ahead and take the wheel on this. Very laudable, to good effect.
Very cool.
Yeah. Left 4 Dead was incredibly popular in Japan. People just, it was just a big hit over there, especially at a time when PC gaming and specifically anything on the Xbox 360 was not necessarily setting the world on fire over there. It was so popular that in 2014, Valve worked with Taito to put out an arcade version of this called Left 4 Dead Survivors. With Japan specific characters, and it ultimately ended up being all of the campaigns from the main game, from both games actually. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Like I would love to try this at some point. It looks real weird.
Yeah.
The biggest downside to it is that it is, and you can actually play this through the Steam Workshop. It's been ported. Which I haven't done. I should do that. The biggest downside is it uses the kind of German censorship.
Oh, so like stuff can't be on fire if it's actually on fire and taking damage.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah,
like it's real gun shy about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
So Turtle Rock, they split from Valve in 2010, kind of after the main push of content for Left 4 Dead 2 was made. They worked on Evolve, a real neat sounding asymmetric multiplayer game that kind of didn't go anywhere. It just didn't get off the ground. Then they were folded into Oculus Studios and worked on a couple of fun Oculus games. And then here recently, again, because a WAF can't come out without coinciding with something that is happening in modern games, Turtle Rock put out Back for Blood, which people seem to enjoy. And that is, just pretty much as close as you can get to a Left 4 Dead 3. It is a very direct spiritual successor.
Yeah. I have not played that yet. I really want to.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
Yes.
To me. So let's get into the different campaigns and characters. We're going to move through these relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Just because we don't want to sit down and describe like level geometry in these. Like there's a lot there, but it would be overwhelming to go through that.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead 1, we got our 4 survivors. We have Bill, who is a cranky old Vietnam vet, kind of like a prepper.
Yeah.
Kind of guy. He's been waiting for this.
He knew the day was coming. And kind of naturally falls into a leader kind of position.
Yeah. It's worth noting that the voice acting on all the main characters I think is really good. Here, and there were some things with getting this voice actor back, which influenced some of the game, some of the story.
Yeah. Zoe's a college student. Kind of like Claire.
Yeah. Kind of sarcastic a little bit. Team player, kind of an everyman as well. It felt a little bit, with Alex, a little bit like this is when Valve had to put a gamer girlfriend. Yeah. Like an approachable, girl in their games for that.
Yeah.
She has a really great relationship with the other characters.
Yeah.
I like Zoe quite a bit.
She had who was it? She had a love interest kind of plot with. Was it with
Francis?
With Francis, they cut it because it was distracting. Yeah,
and also weird.
Why? Like weird situation. Yeah. Francis is a biker who hates everything. It's kind of his catchphrase. Whenever you're going up to something, he says, "I hate tunnels."
Yeah. Really, really cute little trailer for The Passing.
Yeah.
They do with callbacks to that. Francis, big tough guy, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Lewis, who is an office worker, who is very optimistic about everything that's going on, and that gives him a really fun dynamic as well, because they're like fighting witches and tanks and shit. He should not be optimistic.
No.
Very nice.
Yeah. These are sad times. These are not happy times.
Yeah. Source of 1,000 pills memes, because he sounds very cheerful about finding pills in general.
Opens up on a banger of a campaign. Left 4 Dead 1 does. This is a real basic one. It's introducing a lot of the tenets of Left 4 Dead design. And for a long time, this was just it was Left 4 Dead's DE dust. It was just the map that you played. Nothing else was played.
Yep. No Mercy is the name of it, because you're going towards Mercy Hospital.
Of course.
You start on the roof of apartments, make your way down through the apartments. So you're getting all those closets and hallways and such, making your way to street level. And the kind of big complication introduced in street level is car alarms.
Yeah.
They'll have cars where the interior light blinks. If you shoot them or touch them, a car alarm will go off and summon a horde.
Yes. So you got to be real mindful of your line of fire. You know, if you're just firing into, you know, a couple of common infected who have a car standing behind them, you are going to make trouble and maybe get kicked from your group.
Yeah, get a demerit. You make your way into the subways after this. So this is full of wide tunnels and narrow tunnels. Going through this underground section, we get our first crescendo event. We've talked about them.
Yeah.
Usually these are things that make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And you have to hold out for a time. So a door will slowly open while a horde is continuously being attracted.
Yeah. And again, this just really feels like a tutorial about crescendo events. You know, you have to start up this generator. Like this is a relatively simple area. You know, you've got the ground level down around the generators, and you have the catwalks up around the edge. And it's pretty defensible. There are only a couple of different ways that enemies are going to come in very quickly. Something that is true about the designs of these crescendo areas and finale areas is that although you have 4 people, there will oftentimes be 5+ ways that enemies can come in. So there is no way to keep everything entirely on lockdown.
No, you have to keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Through there. The next level is the sewer. It's a sewer. They ported in a special infected from Left 4 Dead 2, the Mudmen.
Yes.
Which crawl around on all fours, and when they hit you, they obscure your vision. Here, except here they're covered in shit because of sewer,
of course,
opposed to mud.
Yeah.
You know, so they're spreading, giving you pink eye. And you're making your way into the hospital through the ER entrance here at the end.
Yeah. Just lots of sewer level in Left 4 Dead 1. It was real startling to go back to it and see, especially after you've played Left 4 Dead 2. The hospital itself rules. I love this. It's relatively linear. You've got an awful lot of small little examination rooms and offices off the side, but you're just making your way up and zigzagging through the floors. With common infected who are coming out. They backported the CEDA infected, CEDA, kind of the stand-in for the CDC. These are people in clean suits that were very ineffective. They were not sealed, so they got infected inside, but because they have the clean suits on, they are immune to fire. So if you're going to be deploying any Molotov cocktails in this, especially in the choke points, they're going to charge right through them.
And special infected are not that big a deal.
No,
in this game, like it's
are
not a huge feature.
The uncommon ones.
Uncommon commons are not that big a deal. Like him being immune to fire, these guys being immune to fire doesn't make that big a difference.
Yeah,
the ones with body armor do, but those are pretty rare.
Yeah.
So you take this elevator route. Up to these unfinished floors, we run into another special infected, the worker special infected. They have hearing protection, so they do not hear pipe bombs. And this is a great place for death charges and just knocking players off the building in general.
Yeah. This is where I because I tried to play through these in roughly chronological order, where I was reminded, oh yes, you can hang from a ledge. It will occupy you, let's say, if you fall off, so be really careful. That ends up being a real problem too when you get to the rooftop finale, because tanks love hitting you and throwing you off at the side of the building.
This is a great finale.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of like Resident Evil 4 or something, this little Radio Shack with the gun turret on top. here. With the way the finale events work is you start them. So the players get to the finals area, and then usually you'll click on something to start a countdown of some kind, a series of waves and tanks that'll show up before rescue shows up. And this one's, again, really, No Mercy is the best campaign in Left 4 Dead 1.
Yeah.
This is really elegantly designed.
Yeah.
It's a small space, but it's really dense. With kind of hideaways and incident and small little micro alleys and such.
Yeah, and walkways that go kind of around the top that are real precarious. Like you can be knocked off of them and down into the middle of the horde if you're not careful. Yeah. And I love that, like, the area that you're going to gravitate toward, because it has that fixed gun. Those are often a trap. Those have like a real limited kind of range of view that you can do. Oftentimes it only covers, one or two of the choke points where people can come. They're going to get up behind you and start slapping at you. But like the most defensible position where, is where you radio and start the event, that is on the opposite side of the roof from the helipad. And so, I mean, just like this was an early kind of like an early illustration for me of like the notion of, just incidental stories that come up because of mechanics and the way that these go. So many different times where like somebody had to sacrifice themselves or got downed, as they were crossing the rooftop, and like, no, go, don't come back for me, just save yourself.
Yeah. Yep. They diegetically do something that they end up folding into the narrative.
Yeah. I love it. Like it's a really good finale to a good campaign.
Crash Course was a DLC campaign. This is just a little bit of connective tissue because initially you just started in a town.
Yeah.
After this, this is the helicopter. The pilot turned and you had to kill him. I wonder why. And you land in this kind of industrial section of town.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
It's real short. A lot to the alleys. It's very short. The alleys are just basically a maze. The big thing is you're getting to this truck depot at the end.
Yeah.
You're lowering a gaudy like armored truck kind of from the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
The big thing here is it's a crescendo event where the generator stalls partway through, so you have to leave safety to go back into the thick of it to restart it.
I love that garage or hangar that you're in for the depot, because there are so many ways in, and it's like a building within a building that you're trying to defend. Just that when it was like, okay, one of you has to go back out there to restart the lift. That was just such a a rug being taken out from under me moment. When I first ran this, so it's like, oh, you bastards,
you beautiful bastards.
It's good. Death toll is interesting. So this one, it's you get out of town pretty quickly here. At least get out of the city. This is you headed down the highway toward this coastal town of Riverside, where there's this rumored military evacuation. And you start out on the turnpike running along these kind of broken rural roads. Big early thing, the thing that stopped you was this bridge was out, so you have to kind of go down into the gully and then get up in the substructure to get to the other side.
Yeah, there's a sewer level.
Of course.
You go down in the drains.
The sluice is loose, baby.
Station. The sluice is loose. Kind of a bummer. But I really like when you go up to the church, where there's a survivor locked in the safe house of the church, and he rings the bell because he's lost his mind, causing enemies to show up. And when you open the door, he's there. He's turned into one of the 3 special infected.
Yes.
The non-boss ones.
Yeah. People rumor him being able to turn into a witch or a tank, but it's been demonstrated that that's impossible. What did he write on the walls inside? It was like better safe than sorry or something like that. Just he was writing it over and over again. No. Yeah. But it's a pretty iconic scene, fighting the undead who are running up this big spooky graveyard. It's nighttime here. Yeah,
like it.
Yeah, but it's not over. Like that feels like a climax. But you head into the town, and this is a small town where you're going through like storefronts and houses.
Yeah, they're kind of just like ticking off all the environments they could think of.
Yeah,
that are like anonymous American town. It feels like.
Yeah.
So this is cool. Small town. They'll have more. The big thing that they changed with Left 4 Dead 2 is that they have more character because they're geographically pinpointed. Once you get through this, you get to this boathouse finale. I love this boathouse. Again, Resident Evil 4 vibes to me.
Yeah.
Defending this cabin, waiting for the boat to show up. And you have this little runway to the docks, but tanks are going to show up there. And you have this, like, the tension between being trapped inside and losing mobility, but also having cover. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're inside the house and a tank gets in, well, fuck off. Like that's real bad news.
Yep.
You know, but if you leave, you are susceptible to smokings and such.
Yeah. This is, I mean, when the game initially released, this is the second finale. They completely pull the rug out from under you. You're out in the, you're out of the city. It's wide open. There's so many avenues that people can come in, come at you. Even though your back is up against the coast, they can come up and down the side as well. So, there is less of there are more opportunities to be surprised, let's say.
This moves into dead air here as you kind of go through this construction zone towards an airport.
Yes. You follow this, you see a C-130. So, okay, obviously the military. Let's follow that thing here. You start out on rooftops. Love the early part of this campaign on these greenhouses. It's these industrial greenhouses that eventually open up into kind of a more broad rooftop kind of deal. I've never played Dying Light, but like that's the appeal of that is that it's mostly like rooftop combat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do a lot of that, and it's not mostly, but you do spend a lot of time on roofs.
Gotcha.
Generally not to do combat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dying Light's fun. Like it gets somebody to play it with, and it's a good game. It's an absolutely atrocious story and character. Like all that stuff is absolutely horrible.
I don't trust the Dead Island people at all.
You don't trust what?
I don't trust the Dead Island people at all. Yeah,
you shouldn't. But you get a grappling hook in a big zombie game. It's pretty fun.
Yeah,
good grapple. Yeah. So you kind of move through these various areas, like a greenhouse area. Not a whole lot to that. This unfinished construction area with half-ruined buildings that are still being made here, where we have to activate this construction crane to start the crescendo event to move a shipping container. Something that happens all the time in video games, but I've never done once in my life.
Like not even like if I was taking a tour of someplace, like, hey, do you want to move the crane? I mean, I would, yes, but nobody's ever asked me before.
I'm sure my ribs would just immediately break. Like I wouldn't even need to, it just seems dangerous to me.
Just pulling the lever to activate, like how fragile are your ribs, dude?
Yeah, I'd very glass it. Like they call it glass maxing. It's when your bones get so little that you can't even pull a crane lever.
It's when you avoid calcium for 5 years and then go skateboarding.
I'm drinking plenty of milk.
Full of vitamin R.
Vitamin R.
Yeah. You promised me dog or higher.
Yeah. Higher.
But of course moving the crane creates a lot of noise, so you got to get over. I love the office building that you go through in this, again fighting people in cubicle farms. There's something about that. There's like the office fight as an anonymous space is good to me, and that's why I think I give Fear a little bit more credit than it deserves.
Yeah it's fun when it happens. I just use it a lot. You make your way to a construction site. So kind of wide open ground level spaces with these power line towers and transformer stations and the like. We see that an airplane has crashed into the airport, or we might try to escape. So we make our way there to the terminal. And this is, I'm glad you have this in the notes, because I think this is probably the most confusing level. In the game. To Left 4 Dead 2's credit, I don't get confused or lost during any of those, except for when it's clearly intentional.
Yes.
This does not feel super intentional.
No. It feels like they made it a little bit too much like real airports. Except, most people, when they're in airports, they're following signage to a particular place. I would end up getting into wide open spaces in this, and then just kind of like looking around and pressing at the sides, trying to find the way to get forward.
Yeah. My favorite little touch is there's a metal detector, which will set off horde. If you are stupid enough to walk through it with your guns. So you can just go around it very easily. But yeah, if you're stupid enough to go through it, you'll fuck yourself up.
Yeah. I love the crescendo event at the end of this. It's super tough. This is something that happens a lot in Left 4 Dead 2. But I think the wiki calls these gauntlet crescendos. I call it like fighting upstream. So like you get to the concourse, right? And you trigger a huge horde of undead, and they're going to keep coming at you. And you have to fight your way upstream. There is no way to like take them out. If you stop, you're dead. You have to run and gun and push against them. If you're not making progress, then you're just losing the war of attrition. But you've got to get up there and get through the gate to get into the safe room on the jetway.
Yeah, really good. There's an incredible version of this in Left 4 Dead 2 in the Carnival.
Yeah,
I love that. But they tried it here. They did it here first. When you get through it, you make your way to the finale here. This big set piece where a plane crashes into the runway, and you have to turn on this fueling truck to fuel up a military transport plane to get out, while undead are coming basically from everywhere on this big flat runway. You use the plane as cover. Like you go around planes as cover as kind of buildings. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Don't see it very often.
They do a pretty good job, not just with obstacles that are above the ground, but there are craters in the tarmac around you at certain points. And I'm convinced that they use the break in the line of sight to spawn things down there, because it just, things dip out of view as they're running toward you. And it is a way for them to get the drop on you by emerging up from out of the crater.
Yeah. Yep. And this makes our way to Blood Harvest, which is kind of our rural zone.
Yeah. I like this one a lot too. This is my second favorite of the of them behind No Mercy.
This is real cool.
Yeah, it's real fun fighting through these woods, and the farmhouse finale is so good. But you have gotten your way into the Allegheny National Forest is where you're at. And you start out in the woods and you're going along these paths, and these paths are lined with trees, and there are lots of blind spots where people can just or infected can just pop out at you.
Yeah. It's very, very unnerving. Real cool. You make your way through to this pumping station as a safe house. Then you have to make your way through this tunnel where they use darkness, these pitch black sections with your flashlight. It's great when a witch spawns there because you get to have the thing from the intro of this where you flash your light on a witch and see it get really angry. Real good.
Yeah.
I love that. When you get to the end, there's a fire exit crescendo. They're running out of doors that make noise. The silent doors, the scourge of the Left 4 Dead designer. And get through here to this bridge. We were following these kind of rails and outbuildings to this trestle bridge that is a choke point for the undead.
Yeah.
They literally fall from the sky
as they're crawling up. I mean, that's something that we didn't say about the common undead, but they don't just run; they're incredibly mobile. They will climb to get to you, and they'll climb up like drain pipes and things, and they'll be climbing all around the superstructure of the trestle here. Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I forgot to make notes on the train station. It's real basic. The train station. I literally remember nothing about it.
Some of them are just levels.
Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot to it.
Yeah.
It's a little break from the main theme of this, which is open areas and vegetation, like cover as opposed to just like hard cover.
Yeah.
Which is underlined in the finale in the farmhouse where you're in this big field of swaying corn. And you have all these little like defensible outbuildings with supplies, but the infected and special infected can hide just in the corn.
Yep.
You'll be hiding in plain sight.
We'll just reach out and grab you.
Again, kind of first draft of something they would do in Hard Rain.
Yes.
And Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah. This one, it's good if you get a scoped rifle in this, you can get to a high vantage point on a thresher that's off on the side, and you can start like picking people off and making a way for your survivors. Yeah.
The sacrifice they introduced for this originally, so this is somebody canonically dies in this. Originally, it was going to be random that they died. When they were promoting this, you go to the website. I remember doing this, and every time we reloaded the website, there'd be a different survivor missing from the picture for it. But they could not get Bill's voice actor back for this. This is before he died. Later he died, and that's why they couldn't get him back. But here they couldn't get him back, so they decided to kill Bill for this. He has some new voice lines and everything, but they couldn't get him to record like mourning for the other characters, basically.
Yeah. And that is underlined in the comics that they put out surrounding this in the promotion, kind of linking the two games. So this is a short campaign, just like the other DLC one. You start at these docks. You've made your way to Georgia, is where this is at, and it's mostly an open dock facility that has one of the cooler crescendos in the first game, which is to proceed you have to go through this box car, but the box car is where some other survivors have trapped a tank. You have to release a tank on yourself, and this tank, by being agitated, is going to draw a bunch of undead as well. I think that is a really good way for you to, it's like, okay, poison yourself to proceed.
He's a unique tank as well. He was in the military. He has military tattoos and stuff. You almost get, if it wasn't other survivors that trapped him, the impression I got was that the military was trying to transport him.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I always like the military or the government studying the monster and it turning on them as a trope.
Well, the inside is just completely coated with blood. Like you got the sense that they were trying to keep him alive by just feeding him like livestock or whatever.
A live chicken in there once a week.
Just reducing it to paste.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. After this is a barge. Where there's these barges that are docked at the port. Where the crescendo here is, there are a bunch of crows on a bridge that you startle. Again, running outdoors that make noise.
Yeah. Francis line fucking crows.
The birds did it. But finally you get to the port, which is a really, really elaborate and complicated kind of mix between a crescendo and a scavenge and a survival.
Yeah.
Here. We had to power these generators to lower the bridge by getting gas cans.
No, it's not the gas cans. You just have to go turn them on at this point. It's the passing where you have to get the gas cans.
I was thinking of the passing. Yeah. This is just going and turning them on, but you have to do it multiple times. They cut out.
Yeah.
So one person needs to stay there to restart it, so everyone else can escape.
Yes. It's a big dramatic moment, it just, and it leads to some ignominious, let's say, non-standard game overs where if, too many people get downed or pinned, and it's like, oh, sorry, game over, even though not everybody's dead, there need to be enough people to go back and restart. Like it feels kind of artificial in a funny way, without being like, angering or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. The final campaign release for this only is Last Stand, which is a survival mode map at a lighthouse where you're gathering gas cans to light the lighthouse beacon. It's a pretty grim end. Yeah. For the characters escaped on a boat to be on an island.
Yeah.
Trying to get help again.
But taking themselves to their self-imposed exile.
Yeah. Left 4 Dead 2 is where the real sizzle is, I think, in a lot of these levels.
Yeah, both sizzle and steak. This is just leagues above the maps in the first game. I'm really happy we dispatch with those.
Yeah, these are much more interesting.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead 2 takes place basically a week after Left 4 Dead 1. A bunch of survivors have gathered on the top of a hotel in Savannah, and this is kind of telegraphed through the opening movie of this. Did you watch that?
A while ago. I didn't watch it this time to refresh myself.
When it came out, I got so fucking pumped.
Yeah.
I did my ex-wife, who was not super into video games, I called her in thinking that it was so cool that she would really like it.
Oh, no, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Did she pay?
Of course, we got divorced after that.
Immediately. She just went and printed out the papers right there. I thought it was sudden, but looking back.
Does anyone have any reasons this couple should not get divorced, or any opening video game cutscenes they'd like to show that is a reason this couple should not get divorced?
Oh geez. Well, like, what specifically got you pumped? I mean, other than introducing the new characters and the new special infected.
It's just real well done, and the music, is like get pumped music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the same kind of like cool shit kicking rock and roll that they play in the safe room.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you get there. So
yeah. I like your survivors in this. They're just
me too.
They you know, the original ones are charismatic. These ones are colorful. You know, they all have a very particular flavor. Kind of the de facto leader is Nick, who's like a smooth talking con man kind of guy. Kind of has a bit of like a Tommy Vercetti thing going on a little bit.
He's Francis.
Yeah,
like a bunch of them have clear analogs. You know, or they all have clear analogs. He has a bunch of real fun little incidental dialogue that reveals backstory. I really like in the first level where he's like, I'm not technically allowed to have a gun. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
Ellis, who is like a good old boy, like a mechanic guy here, who's also, again, very charismatic. He's constantly telling stories about his shithead friends.
Yep.
And things they did. It's real good.
Internet
puts these two characters together and says there's tons of smoldering romantic tension between them.
Between who? Between Ellis and Nick?
Yeah, I made I'm really trying not to do the songs from Rage bus drivers thing, but I keep doing it.
Yeah, man. Eventually it becomes a problem with you.
It's totally a problem with me. But to be fair, like I was just using a research thing that we both use. I was reading TV tropes to see if there's trivia and stuff I missed.
Yeah, fan preferred couples.
And I guess the trivia I missed was that these two characters are in love.
Yeah.
So much so that fans got furious when they released the trailers that showed Ellis crushing on Zoe. They're just like, no, it can't be. And I'm like,
there was a sense of propriety.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
Oh man, fandoms.
I know that it's just a version of me saying I'm old, because if you're like of a certain age, like that all makes sense to you. It just I'm too old.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue with you if you say that, but also it doesn't change how I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Ellis is good. He's kind of the Lewis stand-in. He's just real game. He's the one who produces a lot of like the good ideas for what the group should do. Usually out of just blind enthusiasm for things that he enjoys being around. He's a big fan of the stock car driver, and this is a big fan of the Midnight Riders and stuff.
Well, I want to talk about Jimmy Gibbs, the Midnight Riders, when we get there, and what that does for the sense of place and stuff. From Left 4 Dead 2. Rochelle, who is a news producer, a fan of Depeche Mode, as you can tell from her shirt.
Yep.
The community does not like Rochelle, and they, as much as they insist it's not for racism or sexism reasons, I do not believe them.
It's hard. It's hard to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. She's not getting as much personality early on, but they with the DLC campaigns, when they recorded new dialogue, they gave her a lot more to say.
In the main campaign, she's very kind of just no nonsense, and actually doesn't speak very much. Yeah. She's really the straight man. Yeah.
In this, and then Coach, who is delightful.
Yeah. Coach is a coach. You don't
want to coach in your life. Like,
he would be exhausting.
God, I want him to be my dad and uncle.
I would want Coach in small doses. But he seems like he would be like Coach and Ellis make a good pair. They seem like they'd be game for anything, you know?
Good friends.
Just a lot of fun.
I like them as being locals too. In the opening cutscene, there's a part where Coach is like, "This used to be a nice neighborhood," which I think is very cute. Like, if I had a coach in my life, I would go to church. I think Coach would convince me.
Coach would lead you to Jesus.
I think so, because he's so charismatic and nice.
Yeah,
he just seems like such a good guy.
Yeah,
love Coach.
I just want the best for Coach.
I know it is. He's just such a
fabulous man. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I just love that, like, when they're introducing each other, like, I'm just Coach. Everybody calls me Coach. There's just no name given.
We don't get any other name.
Yep.
And all of these campaigns are good.
Yep.
Like, these all have something to recommend them. I think that there's a clear least good amongst them.
Oh, the Swamp Fever. For
Swamp
sake.
Fever.
Yeah.
Is not super good, even though there are cool things in Swamp Fever. Mm-hmm. Every other one, though, I think is awesome. Mm-hmm. Including the first one, Dead Center.
Oh, this opens with a bang. I love it. Just the fact that you're in a building that's on fire.
Yes. Hugely dramatic.
Yeah.
In a hotel, you made it up to the roof. There's no escape.
Yes.
There. So you have to make your way down through this. You hear that they've actually moved the evac center to the mall. Mm-hmm. So you're making your way to the mall here. They really gently onboard you in this more than they do in Left 4 Dead 1. There are no tier 2 weapons in this. You can only get a melee weapon and then like a Uzi. You can't get the machine guns and stuff. And you don't get the Uzi until halfway through the level. Yeah. The first level.
Mm-hmm. But I love that just the dialogue says, okay, do we need to remind you that this building is on fire? The upper part of it isn't. You're just kind of going through, and it's a real standard. You're in these hallways. A lot of the rooms that are off of the hallway are kind of closed. You're being kind of funneled down directly into the path of the infected, which is pretty good before it opens up. And then suddenly a fire blocks your path as you get a couple floors down, and then you have to go on the kind of like walkways outside the windows. And this is where they bring in the chargers who might punch you off. And just a real good introduction of the chargers for this.
Absolutely. Also, the building being on fire. This is an absolute non sequitur, but I figured I would share something that. So the other day just popped into my head unbidden. You know how you and I throw back and forth good Simpsons jokes from bad Simpsons episodes?
Yes.
How good is it when buildings collapse? Thing? I can't. I was all day yesterday like, mankind has always loved its buildings, but one day buildings say no more.
I liked it when the building fell over.
I couldn't stop saying it yesterday, and I was thinking about that with the hotel. Like, people love their hotels, but one day the hotel says no more.
Oh gosh.
Just dying at that segment. Like, there's still some real gold in the late Simpsons, by which I mean solidly in the first third of the show.
That's like a season 11 episode where the Simpson gene.
Yeah. God damn it.
Oh gosh, she has stubby fingers. She can't hold on to a pop can.
Very good.
Oh man.
The next level, when you make your way down to the bottom, you're on the streets of Savannah. This is like a long level. Mm-hmm. You're going through quite a bit of stuff here. Most of the first half is uneventful, but the end has a really funny crescendo event because they use an old door that makes noise, an alarm, but you actually have to do this kind of
it's a side quest.
Yeah, it's a little side quest, a little fetch quest. A guy will clear the path for you. There's a big bus crashed in the way you can't get over. Mm-hmm. If you get his cola, if you get his Coke.
It just he's a gun store owner. He's locked up and just I can help you. And, I've got like requisitioned a howitzer, it seems. And you have to run kind of down this little switchback to get to the convenience store. I like this because you can cut a direct path down, but you have to take the long way up. Yep.
It's really cleverly designed. And when you have the soda, you can only shove, you can't attack.
It's so good.
So another way that's enforcing teamwork.
Yeah.
I have an emergent story for my revisit that happened. On the way here, I ran into a wandering witch on the way to the gun store. And I'm fighting through the horde. I didn't have shotguns at this point because the gun store is where you get the tier 2 weapons. Mm-hmm. And I was fighting the horde, watching her out of the corner of my eye as she just wandered into the gun store.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh, that ain't good. So when I got in, I had to do all the stuff you do here. It's kind of like a miniature safe room almost. Mm-hmm. There's health packs. This is where you get your laser sights and stuff while avoiding the wandering witch and crouching around her and stuff. It was this really neat little bit of like survival horror evasion that kind of emergently just happened.
Just you're in no position to defend yourself from her. But here she comes.
And by wandering witch, I mean, in the second one, they introduced ones during the day. which is walk around and like slowly while holding their face. At night, they collapse into a pile.
Just like me.
So, yeah, very, very similar. 10 p.m. time for bed.
And crying.
Once you do this, you blow up this thing, you get into the mall. That's real cool. A mall, level is always real fun. You don't spend very much time going into mall shops.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, because that's my favorite thing about mall levels in video games.
There's a toy store you can get into, and that's good. Yeah, they were going to do any of them.
A really hard crescendo event.
Yeah. Again,
you set the alarm, and you have to make your way to the security office to turn it off.
God, I love those mad scrambles to a second location to stop the alarm. It's a real simple thing, but like we kind of you identified it like, oh, just doors that make noise. Well, what if you had to stop the door from making noise and it was across? I mean, here you got to go up like 3 flights to get to the security booth to turn it off. Good design.
And those are all big lines of broken, unpowered escalators that are great for charging.
Yeah.
When I play this multiplayer, I definitely got all 4 members, and you can charge them off. They can fly off the.
It is such a huge setback. It's just a real dick move.
It's so good. And the finale is the atrium. The finale here is really interesting. They start seeing posters for Jimmy Gibbs Jr., the stock car racer.
Yep.
And they're like, oh man, Ellis has an idea. Like, we can use his stock car to drive out of here. They don't keep these things fueled up though for these events. So we're going to have to fuel it.
Yep.
And this creates this really cool finale event where you have to gather, depending on the difficulty, a certain number of cans of fuel to escape. This is totally different in single player because the AI will never pick up a gas can.
Yeah.
And this is awesome so gas cans are immune to fire unless you've picked them up once. Once you pick them up, they can be lit on fire. So a cool thing to do here is post up as a spitter. If the infected or special infected make a character drop their gas can, you can spit on the gas can and set it on fire.
Oh God.
Making the car, a danger area and setting them back. Like, that gas can will eventually respawn.
Yeah.
But usually and they can drop many gas cans because the pro strat here is to throw your gas cans by the car and fill them all at once to minimize your back and forth.
No, I tried that here on my revisit, forgetting the rule about dropping them and some of my stray bullets. Yeah, undid my work, and it was a real bummer.
Yeah. It is an opportunity to do some delicious evil as the infected.
What's great about this is not just that Ellis loves Jimmy Gibbs Jr., which is a very well observed, sounded like NASCAR driver name, but you might get to fight the man himself.
Yeah. He's very tough. He's a regular zombie, but with way more hit points.
Yeah, and he is fireproof because of his suit.
Yeah, real good. When you get this, you take off in the car. We have the passing as a DLC campaign. This is after Bill's death. This is where the two people meet each other, the two groups. This is where Ellis was crushing on Zoe, thus making some people mad. This is also the trailer for this has Francis and Rochelle talking. It's I don't know if you've seen that. It's real cute.
No, I haven't.
She's like, I hate this bridge. And he's like, really? I hate this bridge too. You hate stuff? And she's like, yeah, I hate that car over there. It's so stupid. I hate that building. And eventually she's like, I hate your vest. And he's like, this isn't going to work out. And then it cuts to the action.
Oh, that's good.
It's real cute,
real clever. God bless whoever they got to do their writing at Valve for that period. Just that incredibly just fertile period between like 2007 and 2011.
Yeah, doing like good machinima basically.
Yeah,
without all the slurs and stuff that you usually find with machinima.
Yeah. So you're playing this from the perspective of the Left 4 Dead 2 people. You arrive and your progress is stopped because the other survivors raise the bridge. They're up there. You need to find a way around to the other side to power it up, and this is going to involve not just going up and down the riverbank. With an amazing set piece where this wedding was taking place when the outbreak happened, and of course the bride is now a witch.
Yeah, which is really cool. You can also turn on the sound system and summon a horde and piss off the witch if you want to. No good reason to do this. There's also a bar where the Midnight Riders are going to play. You get the sense that the Midnight Riders are, what I call a Cornfest band.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the bands that used to be able to play at my hometown Cornfest.
Yeah. Here in Ohio, it's Phil Dirt and the Dozers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very similar kind of energy. There's a cool little bit. There's an Easter egg in this campaign where you can see the Midnight Riders tour van go by in the background. And that caused a lot of rumors that there'd be a DLC where you play as the Midnight Riders.
Oh, that would be a lot of work for them to do.
But it'd be real cool.
Yeah, it would.
Like, no lie. The Midnight Riders are like a butt rock band.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah, just a biker outlaw. I love the just like the lore around it. Specifically, what is it? Is it the bassist or the drummer who doesn't who doesn't really belong? Like they've got like all these posters put up, and it's like he's the drinker and he's the rebel, and then for the drummer, it's just the drummer.
Yeah, the drinker, the rebel, the killer, and the drummer. You make your way, they do a sewer level in this one, but in a really cool way. Mm-hmm. It's a tour, like an underground, like a Portland Underground tour, except for the city, for this Georgia town. Mm-hmm. Really neat. Like, it looks like one of those things. Yeah. Like a tour of the underground.
And like they play with both darkness and also you're going through this, really deep water where it slows you down. And just real high stakes. There's a catwalk you can be on to get through things faster, but there's everything, again, because of the special infected, everything there to knock you off and put you on the slow path.
Yeah. And then you finally get to the port. This is the scavenger map where you're gathering gas cans to power the bridge, while the 3 original survivors provide cover from above.
Really good.
That's real cool. Like from just like a fan perspective, it is neat to see them meet.
Yeah. Nice. Just it is a passing of the torch.
Yeah. If you are playing them in chronological order, it's kind of a bummer to do 2 gathering gas can missions in a row.
Yeah.
But chronologically, this came out, or in real life, this came out way later.
Yeah.
So it was refreshing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also refreshing is the Dark Carnival campaign.
How good is this?
This is so good.
God, I fucking love this.
God,
it's so imaginative. Like just in terms of exploring video game spaces, like real life spaces you don't get to explore in video games very often.
I mean, but also like mechanically, there's so many good ideas here. So many great just set pieces and encounters and stuff. Like they used every part of a fairground for play in this.
Mm-hmm. It's also very funny. Like there's a bunch of jokes in this I legitimately like. So they can't keep going. There's a bunch of stalled cars on the highway. One of the things I like is that sometimes you run out of gas as well. Like the reason is either we can't keep going because of the cars or because we're out of gas. Yeah, you have to proceed on foot towards Whispering Oaks. And the people who are locals are like, they've seen it before.
Yeah, they used to come here when they were kids.
This is where the Midnight Riders are performing. And they're like, well, let's head our way there. The first level is up this highway and then past this little hotel on this way to this little gully. There's not a whole lot to it. But once you get to the fairground, you're in a carnival fighting zombies and doing zombie shit.
Yeah. In between the food trailers up and down the midway, there are rides and stuff. And
there's Mustachio.
Yeah, I love Mustachio.
Mustachio, the mustache pistachio. That's the mascot for Whispering Oaks.
Yeah, and all of the rides are kind of nut themed too, which is really good. Yeah. My favorite of the special infected here, not just because it's aesthetically cool, but also because they serve a really interesting. They're almost like mini boomers. Is what they are, the clown infected, because of their big squeaky shoes. As they run around, they're almost like the piper leading the other horde behind them. So you want to take care of these things because they're going to keep on drawing more as long as they're around.
I don't think they actually create more. I think they just concentrate them.
Yeah, I suppose that would be the case. Yeah.
Which is interesting because it's like it can become a big problem because you're getting a concentrated dose. But if you have a Molotov, you can take out a lot at once.
Yeah.
This guy.
And hey,
if you hit the clown in the face with a melee weapon, it boops their nose and it makes a squeak.
That's so good
as well. And the third level of this is, I think, is one of my favorites in the game. Where you go through the Tunnel of Love, which I love this as a level. You get to go in the back works and like behind the scenes.
Yep.
Of it, and the characters are funny. They're like, let's go through the storage room of love. Like, I found some pills in the administrative building of love.
Yeah.
Characters being funny for each other is something I always like in media, rather than trying to make me, the player, laugh. And then you get this incredible crescendo event on our old timey wooden roller coaster.
It's the screaming oak. Where you pull a lever to start the ride up, and then you have to not just run along the tracks, but fight enemies along the tracks, clearing your way to get around to the other station so you can turn it off. Yeah,
really cool. Wonderful for multiplayer. There's so much crazy shit you can do on this thing. Really, really neat. We go into the section called the barns, which is the livestock exhibition area. So lots of dead cows.
Yep.
And the centerpiece of this is you getting to the end where you do that upstream battle we talked about.
Yeah.
To get to the venue.
Yeah, to get into the stadium or the arena or whatever it is. Like this took me, like every time I come back to this fresh, it takes me multiple tries because I forget, like I get a little bit too defensive or conservative going up against this. And you got to keep moving. You got to press forward. Don't worry about stuff getting behind you because they're just going to keep coming from in front of you.
Yeah, just because it's an entire concert's worth of people.
Yep.
Who were going to see this concert or waiting for it when they got sick.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult and just really impressive in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
And then you get to this awesome crescendo event.
Yeah.
This concert.
Yeah.
Here.
You're trying to attract the attention of a helicopter pilot. And you're like, okay, like how do we let them know that there's actual people down here, not just undead? And Ellis is like, oh, the Midnight Riders, they've got the biggest, the biggest pyrotechnics this side of so-and-so. So you have to go and get up to the stage and up into the stands and activate the stage show in order to create a big ruckus. Of course, this will attract the chopper pilot, but it'll also attract just tons of undead. And this is a really interesting space to fight them.
Yeah, it's really big, really open. Lots of angles on you. You have ways to prepare the venue before you fight. You can leave these little fireworks packs in places that will act as fire.
Yep.
In places to kind of set traps. There's all kinds of so you end up fighting 2 tanks while you're waiting. 2 hordes and 2 tanks is what happens. And there's all kinds of little world building details that come through here. They still play the music without the Midnight Riders there. So they find out that the Midnight Riders lip sync. If you have Ellis or Coach near the microphone, they'll sing along.
Oh, that's so good.
To the songs at certain points. Like it's so cute. It's like just really nice little grace notes.
Yeah.
This does.
just dripping with personality. I don't know.
Yeah. Really, really fun. A helicopter shows up and then you pop into it. Go to the next one, Swamp Fever. The helicopter pilot turns, who knows why. We do. And you end up stranded in the middle of nowhere at this gator farm to kind of do some rural south.
Yeah.
Zone.
This is it's like an echo of Blood Harvest. This one is, and this is the bummer. I think just because it does have that flavor, right? It's swampy, and I enjoy the wide open kind of woods kind of thing. It's just compared to everything else, which is kind of like neon lit. Even in the mechanics and the cool little scenarios, this just kind of lacks. It feels flat in comparison to them, I think.
Yeah, there's not as much to it. The coolest thing in it is the first one you can find in this little area with all these little shacks where they've crucified a charger. That's real cool.
I mean, the story of this, like these people who already lived here and then just tried to cut off, thinking it would protect them, and kind of became their own little insular kind of community, even more so until they started turning from within. That is a real cool idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So that's the first map where you have the crucified charger. Where you activate this ferry to get across.
Yeah.
Then you get to a swamp, which is my least favorite map in the game. I find this a little bit confusing to get through, and just a lot of time in water, which slows you down.
Yeah.
Here. The set piece of this is a plane that crashed, and you have to make your way through it, and you have to open an emergency door to get through it.
Yeah. One thing that I'm happy that they decided to go back on, who knows if mods have put this back in, but the idea both in Plain Country and in the swamp was that as you're walking along the plank paths, those could be destroyed by enough damage, which would force you into the slow muck. They opted instead to keep those static.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Kind of a nothing level in this like little shanty town with houses on stilts, for flooding. Not a whole lot to this.
No.
Here, the finale of the whole set of maps is pretty good. I think I like the plantation.
Yeah.
As things, and this is the only time you fight 2 tanks at once.
Yeah.
In the main campaign.
It's a really interesting space to defend, both inside and out. For me, I only ran through it once here as my refresh. But for me, like one of the tanks got inside and had to deal with them in there, as opposed to outside where you had lots of angles on them, and you don't want a tank indoors.
Nope. But you're doing this to radio Virgil the boatman who will pick you up. There's nobody driving the boat. There's no model for Virgil.
No.
So I like to think of Virgil as the boat.
The boat's the lanyap.
It's a special infected. If you really like boats in life and you get the green flu, you might turn into a boat.
Oh God.
And that's what I think happened here.
That's like something out of Blasphemous, dude.
Yep.
The miracle will turn you into a boat. Oh God. Steamboat Willie. What about Willie the Steamboat?
Hello there.
Virgil was his name before the turn. The boat's name is the lanyap, which is fun because he picks you up as a favor.
Yeah, little something extra.
Yeah.
This moves into Hard Rain, which is the premier versus map.
Yeah.
It's not the only one they do, but it's the big one I watch the most of. And this is like just a feat of level design.
Yeah.
Like efficient level design.
I love it. And you would think, so you're just like reusing the geometry, like you're just kind of going through and then back. This is extremely interesting backtracking because you're in a hurricane.
Yeah, which happens down south. Like twice per year, I have to really worry about the Greers.
Yeah,
because weather sucks.
And you gotta keep a real eye on Jolly because of the way Houston is designed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a huge bummer. That kind of reusing level design thing is a little bit of I think a gamble for level designers, because when it works, it's like the coolest thing in the world. And when it doesn't work, it feels like a dick slap.
Yeah.
It feels awful. This is a really good use of it. This is up there with like Frozen Ilium Lois.
Yes.
In terms of doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you need to refuel the boat. So you hand there, but you left the signal flares on the boat, so you do not have the signal flares to get back to signal Virgil to come pick you up.
So we're gonna solve one problem at a time here. The first gas station that you get to is all out of gas. There's no diesel there, so you have to go way inland through this mill town itself. This whole, it's like a company town for a sugar mill. And I like this because like this is the best suburbia we've seen so far.
There's a garage sale.
There's a garage sale. I love it. And and that's a real important landmark, especially when you're coming back and there's no visibility.
Yep, exactly. Really cleverly designed.
Yeah.
The supplies that are here, it's very well supplied, but it says, hey, save some for the way back. This place you're going through is actually going to be where you do your finale.
Yes.
So saving things is really important. You make your way through, you get to the sugar mill, which is crawling with witches. And there's all kinds of like signage and environmental storytelling about how dangerous this is. Really cool. The navigating your way through this, it's like a industrial maze, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Until you get to this, you go on this elevator into this field of sugarcane, which visibility is really low here. And then you do those 2 levels back on your way back, but during a hurricane.
Yep.
It's so cool. Like going through the sugarcane field in a hurricane is such a cool feeling of being lost and scared.
I mean,
while things stalk you,
and they've done such a good job of just like the scary rain, like the scary rain that is being blown sideways. Like I was just, again, in my revisit for this, I was playing this and I was having flashbacks to times where I've had to drive in something like that. Just clenched up, and it comes and goes too. Like it actually like goes in waves as well, and it doesn't just reduce your visibility, but it also like obscures the voice barks that people will make along the way.
Yep.
Everything is constricted, and as you're coming back, like the actual mill itself is not especially changed, but the town itself is flooded, so you end up needing to like take rooftops back, and you know what previously didn't seem like it was navigable space through the change in this context is forcing you to go through it in a different way. At just chef fingers. I love this so much.
It's really, really well designed. These two levels are kind of short on your way back until you do the crescendo. The storm isn't as big an issue at this little restaurant, the Burger Tank restaurant, to signal Virgil. But it's a really interesting place for the finale.
Yeah.
The tank can certainly punch you off.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. And it's a much longer run than most to get to Virgil at the dock as well. Mm-hmm. So you end up I ended up charging ahead and providing cover for the others as they made their way up, pursued by a tank. We didn't deal with the tank before Virgil got there. Yeah.
It's well, I think I don't. Yeah, a lot of times that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You just get on the thing.
Just bug out.
So yeah. This leads into the parish, which is also a really good map for this. You're in New Orleans. And it looks like New Orleans. I love video games that take place in New Orleans.
Yeah, the Windy Easy.
Yeah, the Windy Easy. You've heard tell of a new military evacuation, but there's been a riot here.
Yeah.
You get to see the CETA, their kind of attempts to shut things down, this being a major metropolitan area, and just get a lot of like cool flavor.
Yeah.
For New Orleans here. The first level is the waterfront. It's very short. It's a little zigzag.
Yeah. Love going through the bars.
There is a jukebox which you can turn on that will attract the infected.
Yep.
I also, when I was watching speedruns of this, there's a trick you do here a whole lot, which is if a common is climbing something and you jump, their velocity of their climb will be added to your jump. If you do it under use, you can jump up on top of the roof where survivors were never meant to go, but they're fully collision mapped because infected would go up there. So it's this really neat little bit of using the level design and breaking it for speedrunning purposes.
Nice. Yeah. Again, I was going to ask, how did people figure this out? And it's just, pressure and time.
Yeah. Speedrunning. Like 1,000 monkeys at 1,000 typewriters. Of course they did.
Yeah. You get to the park. This has lots of like little plazas and squares. The crescendo event here is this abandoned evacuation center. There's an alarm that goes off and you have to go around this scaffolding that had been put up like as a processing center to get there and shut it off.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
This is a really tricky crescendo.
Yeah.
Here. The next area you go through a cemetery, those cool above ground mausoleums. You get a sewer level that is one hallway.
Yep.
Which makes me felt like a reference to the first game's sewer levels almost as a kind of like a heh. And you come out in a really cool set piece, an impound lot that's full of cars, many of which have alarms that you have to make your way through.
I was playing with somebody from the community on this one. It was just me and them. And this is designed to be impossible to get through without accidentally triggering some of the alarms on these. But it I still just felt like it was like I farted in an elevator every time one of those things went off. You're like, shit, sorry. Shit, sorry. Shit, sorry. Yep.
It's no good. You get through this and you get to the French Quarter. So the New Orleans place, where a riot took place. So we get the common infected and the riot infected, the last special infected we haven't talked about. They have to be shot from behind, which would ordinarily be a pain in the ass for something that always rushes you. But if you shove them, they fall facing away from you.
Yeah, so it ends up being a little bit simpler. It doesn't strictly require teamwork to do.
Yeah. And the finale here, there's a Mardi Gras float that's being made. You have to turn on this tractor to pull it to make a path for these buildings.
It plays when the Saints go marching in, as the tanks go marching in.
There's a remix called "The Saints Will Never Come" of that song that's specific to this game.
Oh yeah,
that they play. And this makes your way onto the bridge, which again is a really cool, huge set piece. It is just a long double-decker bridge you have to cross that is crumbling in places to make your way to the end.
Yeah, and it's just a non-stop onslaught. It's what if we put the old boy fight into Left 4 Dead? Is kind of what it feels like. It is so dense, and I ended up using so much ammo that I was really happy that there were like vans scattered along it with resupplies. It was just dropping whatever weapon I had to pick up a new one because I had to be fresh in order to keep on pressing up against this. Just a big gauntlet.
Yeah,
and
this is an absolute fun playground for special infected because you can knock people off so easily.
Yeah,
here, really great level, really huge, like tons of bombast.
Yeah,
here, a really good finale for the game and for the series, really, because they're not going to make another one.
Nope.
Tons of rumors about them making another one came out, and the reason people always squash down those rumors on Reddit or what have you, because like there doesn't need to be another one.
Nope.
Really. They've said what they could say. The special infected that they could think of that are cool and fair and answer a gameplay problem have been created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious about Back 4 Blood. I've got Game Pass, so I can fire that up and test it out in just a matter of time. Finding the time for that. But it's not alluded to in the game because it's just kind of left as a mystery. The game just kind of ends with you getting the credits telling you the scores and who got what awards and things like that. They like the narrative designer or somebody said the survivors, the military took them on cruise ships and they headed to the Caribbean to try and survive on the islands there. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, kids.
I wish you the best.
And that's Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm.
A game super important to me, and being the only game that broke through my sports gene entirely. Eagerly watching one match of a tournament every night before bed has been a ritual at several different places in my life.
Yeah.
Really, really fun. Tons of flavor. Great game.
Yeah. I feel like I've said everything about it. I feel like I wish I had played more of it, and I would like to play more of it. It's just a matter of I feel like I have seen what I want to see out of it, and multiplayer stresses me out. And this is one of the ways that I'm able to get around that. Which is speaks to the game's credit that I can get around by social anxiety and just fear that I am inconveniencing people by not playing optimally.
Yeah, agreed. It's not enough to get me past not wanting to play that game.
Yeah.
So, or that genre.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Thanks, Jade.
Yeah.
For patronizing this. I appreciate it. If people are listening have any thing to say about this, Stardew Valley, or StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, hit us up by November 15th at Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. If you have thoughts about December's games, which are going to be Fallout 4 and the various DLCs, the deadline for that is December the 15th. It is always the 15th. And we will be announcing January's games. It's hard to believe that it's already going to be 2022. We're going to be announcing those at the end of this month here. We have the server until the end of November on this. So that is for patrons. There's just a special group on Steam that you can join that will make the server visible to you when you sign in. And I'll be popping on there at least a few more times. Just to dick around and have fun. It's hard to play multiplayer while prepping for something because you got to take notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Save the date, December 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Yeah,
for Duckstream 2021. You will enjoy it.
Yeah, weekend-long streaming event to raise money for the Transactive Gender Initiative or Transactive Gender Project. which provides resources and education for trans youth and their families.
Yeah. And we hope you can give, and we hope you can tune in.
Yep.
All that stuff. So, I think that is about, and then, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, ratings, reviews on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict. Do we have anything else?
Not that I can think of right now. I think that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. What should they watch out for until next time, Cole?
Watch out for pills.
Pills.